Welcome to the live coverage of the Tamara Lich and Chris Barber sentencing. I'm Nico Lagan. As always, I'm joined by none other than Jason Lavigne. What's going on, brother?
Oh, it was a busy morning. We just finished our live as well as we were doing some coverage. We had Dr. Mary Bowden from the US on talking about how there's a disappointment with the administration and addressing vaccines and the COVID stuff. So check that out after this. But chatted briefly with Chris Barber this morning, sent him our well wishes, and he's entered the courtroom. And from what I understand right now, that courtroom is packed, like packed. So thank you to Right Blend, who's there doing some coverage. Jeff Evely, our co-host for our Saturday shows, he's there as well in the courtroom, and we should be able to bring you the results as soon as they happen. And I have not received a link from the courtroom. As a journalist, I may have asked them a little bit too late to get that to us, but I wouldn't have been able to share it. I would have been able to just watch it and share the information. But here we are to cover a big day in Canadian history. No matter what happens here, it's going to be a big day in Canadian history.
That's exactly what I was thinking because I posted about it this morning, and basically I'm like, this is literally showing us then that over the past 3 to 5 years, the government has weaponized our justice system. And no matter what happens to them, even if they walk free with none of the 7 or 8 year sentence that they're facing right now, the process itself is the punishment. Like I say this all the time, and that's exactly what's going on right now. They've already been punished. So even if today they face no more jail time, no more time at all, they've served 3 years already. Because have you seen X right now? Just go, like, not only what the government has done to them with the level of stress, the problematic of always finding, you're always waiting for your lawyer. You're always trying to figure out what's going on. Those people have not slept well in 3 years. And by those people, I mean Tamara Lich and Chris Barber have not slept properly in 3 years. Chris Barber could lose his truck in a different court case. Now we're looking just on the government side. Have you seen the messages just on X? It's insane the amount of people that want to celebrate, that want them to be sentenced to 7 and 8 years so that they can celebrate the government's tyrannical overreach. It's absolutely insane. And we're talking about some of the biggest lefty content creators slash journalists slash reporter are celebrating this. It blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind.
Yeah, I bet you Dean Blundell's at the top of that list, Rachel Gilmore as well. Those are the two that absolutely been pushing for this for quite some time. And it is gross. It's going to be similar to the Charlie Kirk, when they're cheering for the death or the celebrating the assassination. We're going to see that as well. So Canada is going to go through its own little cleansing on like how crazy and stupid can people be, and they're going to out themselves. And yeah, it's kind of good that they're letting us know who they are and how they think, because they could be next. Okay, all that it will take is the passing of a hate bill and a changing government, and they could be next. The people that are doing this. And if you take a look at it, Bill C9, it's retroactive, right? Like there is no requirement that you have to do it after the bill is passed. It's just if someone feels like you created hate and you incite in any way, shape, or form, you could find yourself up for charges. So these people that don't fully understand that standing up against the government in a peaceful way is a tool of democracy, and yet here they are trying to celebrate the slamming down of that tool. One day that's going to bite them back too. And that's too bad. They don't have that ability to see in the future like that.
And you know, what's the most interesting about what you're saying is that you look at the way they support Free Palestine protests. So they're 100% okay with their people protesting whenever they want without needing for a permit and always being escorted by the police. Like today on October 7th, we're October 7th, 2 years after the attack of Hamas versus on Israel. Have you seen what's going on in Concordia? Like I have a contact at Concordia. Her name's Anastasia. She's Jewish descent. She's from Israel, but she's studying here in Canada, and she's on the student council. And she was on the show a couple of weeks ago just to show the handbook. The student handbook is filled with pro-Hamas free Palestine stuff. It's showing people how to not only protest but not get caught protesting, and if you do get caught, how do you handle your teachers, how do you handle the police. She sent me, I have about 20 or 30 pictures of the inside the handbook. It's absolutely insane. And yesterday, 2 days ago, sorry, she texted me. She's like, hey, did you hear about that? Right now, today, on October, as it's October 7th, 2 years after, they have free Palestine protests at Concordia in Montreal. They have them at McGill. They have them at Toronto, at the Toronto University. They're having them all over the place on the one day they should really, sorry for my language, but shut the fuck up and stay home. And not only that, but they were at Concordia. She was telling me that they were pressuring teachers to close down their classes for 2 days.
Oh, wow.
It's absolutely
Look,
insane what's going on. Yet those people are going to support that. But when you got somebody like Tamara Lich and Chris Barber that tried to stand up for our freedom during lockdowns, during the COVID lockdowns, they deserve to be in prison for 7-8 years. When I was there was no violence there. Yet how many times have you seen violent protesters as part of the Free Palestine movement? Because let's be honest here, there's no difference between Free Palestine, BLM, climate activism. It's the same thing. Even their main speaker, Greta Thunberg, as soon as she saw that climate change wasn't holding much water anymore, she actually switched to the Free Palestine protests. So most of them are just grifters that have nothing else to do. But that's okay. We'll support that, but we're not going to support two freedom heroes like Tamara Lich and Chris Barber. It absolutely blows my mind that this is Canada. It's hard for me to believe that this is Canada.
I wonder if they picked this day specifically in order to cause a powder keg to go. Like, if this comes back bad, there's going to be a lot of upset Canadians that are in Ottawa right now. And then you got the Free Palestine, you got everybody on October 7th upset already. Is this meant to happen today? Like, did they
I
plan
was
this
thinking
out?
exactly that. I was literally thinking about that this morning. The exact same thing. I'm like, October 7th, man. I don't believe in coincidences. They're too smart. I don't underestimate people. I overestimate people most of the time. I think people are a lot smarter and a lot more evil than we give them credit for. And this is no different. How can you,
I think you're right.
7 and 8 years? Can you imagine? You're making an absolute great point. 7 and 8 years for mischief, which is basically the maximum sentence that they can get under mischief, which normally it's a couple $1,000 fine, just like Jeff Eveley's received during that freedom convoy as well. So you're looking at what they're doing, and the fact that it's happening on October 7th, I'm too smart to believe in coincidences.
Yeah, no, because I didn't even realize that. Sorry for not putting that connection together sooner. But yeah, they could have done it on the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, the 6th, but the 7th, the 2-year anniversary. And I'm sorry, because I know there's a lot of people that are watching that are hopeful. But if you watch the Pat King sentencing, you watch the Coots sentencing for mischief, like just mischief, just take that mischief piece only. When they were found guilty, there was time associated with it. Tamara Lich is the only one of the two who actually has time served right now. So she may have some credit towards whatever sentence is coming. But Chris Barber does not. He does not have any time served right now. So if there is even a 6-month or a 3-month sentence that comes down, he will be in. He would be going into jail today or prison. That'll be the next stop for him. Now, I did highlight on my show this morning that I guarantee you the sentencing appeals are ready to go. So as soon as this comes down, that paperwork will start the process. And then if they are in today, then they will be released on bail pending appeal of the sentencing. So they could, if they go in today, they could end up going home sometime this week or early next week as the process for the appeal starts. But if you look at any of the mischief convictions that we've had so far, all of them had some time associated to them. So I would be surprised if they walk out of there today, both of them.
When you think about what happens to Coots, how long was the sentencing? Like, how
6
long
months
was the
for mischief.
No, sorry. What I mean is that how long did it take? Because if you look, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if my memory serves me right, this has been going on for 3 years now. Their case between like Tamara Lich and Chris Barber has been going on since the convoy. So that's 2022, right? Sometime along those lines. So between 2.5 and 3 years, how long
Three
did
and a
it
half years.
last for Coots for them to be sentenced? Because they've been sentenced a long time ago. When did the process actually start?
Well, they started as well, February 14th, 2022. So a few days before Chris Barber and Tamara Lich. I think they were the 18th or 19th, maybe even a couple more days after that before they got their arrest. But the sentencing was finished, I think September 2024 is when the sentencing came down. September, October is when we got that decision. And now Chris is out. Chris Carbert is out, but he's also pending an appeal. So his process is not done yet. But this will be 3.5 years that Barber and Lich have been going through this, the longest mischief trial in Canadian history. Some of the information I've received is it's at least $10 million spent by the Crown to prosecute these two on mischief. And they're definitely looking to get not just his truck, but their time and rip them apart from their families for a little while here. This is going to be a very, and again, this is not my hope. Okay, so I don't want, this happens a lot when I try to break down the law and say, well, here's what the law has done in the past, and this is what the precedence is, and the judge's hands are kind of tied on certain things. They misinterpret that as my desire. It's not my desire. My desire is they shouldn't have been found guilty. But I do expect there's going to be some time. So in Coots, it was 6 months each for mischief. That's how much of their sentence was allocated to the mischief charge. Pat King received time for the mischief charge. He had time served, so he didn't have to go back in. But I can't imagine that this judge will give zero time after $10 million, 3.5 years, a long trial, and precedents across the country for mischief associated to this freedom event. I can't see her not giving some time. The hope is it's as minimum as possible, or the sentence could be served in the community. That is an option with this judge. She could give Chris, for example, 6 months, but it's not time in prison. He could do that in the community. He would have restrictions. He may have to be home by 10 p.m. He may have curfew, stuff like that. So that is an option. But the Coots guys, they didn't get that, and neither did Pat. They got prison. Pat had time served, so he didn't have to go back in.
Because it's been going on for 3.5 years, they should be getting time served. Because like I said before, they were still serving time, although they weren't necessarily in prison. There is
Yeah,
no
the
way
court doesn't
in
recognize
hell.
that, though.
No, but it should. That's the thing. Plus, of course, they're not going to recognize it because it's their fault. They're not going to give themselves up by saying, you know what, we mistreated you for 3 years. We made this last when it could have been over within a matter of weeks, if not months. We dragged it and dragged it and dragged it and dragged it, and here we are 3 years later, finally getting a sentence. That's 3 years, bro. Like I guarantee you that the stress level of not knowing your faith for 3 years is as bad, if not worse, as being in a Canadian prison. Because let's be honest, they're not going to Supermax here. They're not going to go hang out with the rapists and the serial killers here. They're going to be in probably a minimum, like a minimum prison. But the point is that at least you know your faith. At least you know.
And
I would 3 years not knowing. Damn. And you can't leave either, right? It's not like you can leave the country either. So, man. Yeah, that has to count. That should count for something. There's no doubt in my mind, but they're never going to let it fly. There was a comment saying that there was a couple of fights that happened outside of the court. Do you know Brian Durskin?
yeah,
He's a Christian singer. Seems like he was in a fight. It's Right Blend that shared that. I'm just going to bring it up right now.
no, Brian.
Off.
He's one of the Wellington Street regulars. Yeah, this guy is right there. Over here. Okay, emotions are definitely going to be high. Emotions are definitely high. Oh, he was attacked. He's on the bottom.
Yeah, he was the one at the bottom.
Okay, so they're trying to provoke. This is exactly what I was worried about. They're going to try and provoke a big response. Yeah, all those people on the sidewalk, I've met them all, the Wellington Street regulars. They've been outside the court and following this trial all along. Boy, yeah, I'm not surprised. And some of the emotions are going to be really high, especially after the sentencing, I suspect.
You're probably right. There was oh, hold on. I think somebody, I shouldn't have stopped the video right away. It seems like I thought it was done, but it seems like somebody's getting arrested right here.
Yeah,
You know
I
this
don't know
guy?
who that gentleman is. Let me see if I can see him closer. Oh, yeah, no, I've seen him before. Yeah. He's one of the supporters. Yep.
Well, clearly it says freedom fighter on this.
Yeah. No, but I met him before.
On his hoodie.
Yeah.
Mm.
He's a decent guy. He's a good guy. So I don't know if it's for his speech or I don't know what's going on there.
Oh, hold on, maybe we can.
But he likely will be released unless he actually.
Take a picture.
All right, hey, I'm getting arrested for what? Oui, c'est moi. C'est pas moi qui a soigné, regarde-moi là. Regarde-moi.
Basically, what he's saying, he's speaking French. He's saying it's not me that swung, so it's not me that hit him, is what he's saying.
Right.
C'est pas moi qui a soigné,
They're
pas
provoking, just
J'ai rien
provokership.
fait qui est venu sur moi.
He's like, I did not swung. That guy came to me, like came on to me.
Yep. So these aren't violent people, but
And he's
they
just
will.
asking,
They will
like,
stand
what
their
are you
ground.
guys doing? Like, what are you doing?
How are you feeling, Uncle Ben?
Yeah, I suspect he'll be released without anything later. But they're just trying to provoke, get people upset. Emotions are going to be high.
And that was him, right? So the guy that was on top is free and smiling.
Oh boy, yeah. Well, how did he get free and smiling? They should have taken them both away till they know what's going on.
Because clearly that's the same guy, right? Like that,
Yeah.
clearly this
He's
is...
got that collar. That I've never seen that guy before. So
And just that
yeah.
smirk, man. Just that smirk. And
the
even
wink.
winks at the camera. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, provoke. I've never seen that guy before, even on the counter protesting side of things. For this, so I don't know who that is. And I've been there. I've been to that court many times for this trial, and spent a lot of time with the people out there. But I don't know who that was.
There was another one, though. I saw something that Rachel Gilmore posted, and it was that big guy. There was a big guy in the scene. He wasn't the one fighting, but he was a big guy. Somehow I got a feeling that you probably know who that is. See, they're fighting in the background. I guess this is just a different angle from further back.
But again, he's on top.
Yep.
Like, do we see how this starts?
No.
Of course not. We don't see how this starts, even though it's probably captured. Look, they don't even try to hold that guy, the police.
No.
Let's see what they do with him. Tell him to go away. Tell him to go away.
Yep.
And then they arrest him, buddy.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, that's fishy.
Not surprised though, right? Yeah, they're always gonna try to egg people on. They want that though. Let's be honest here. They do want for people to get violent. Like you said earlier, and just like I was thinking this morning, October 7th, it hit me this morning as I'm getting mentally ready for my day. I'm like, what? October 7th? It's happening today? I didn't put 2 and 2 together until this morning. I'm like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. And you know that, on Saturday, there was one of the commenters that said that, we can't encourage people to be violent. And I doubled what he said, saying, you're absolutely right. That's not a war that we can win. That's why normally when you see those type of uprising against the government, they're always doing guerrilla warfare, right? They don't go one-on-one. They just can't. But that is the perfect situation right now to bring it to the next level. Because, every single person that was part of the Freedom Convoy, even if it's from afar that did not go, but that supported them with internet post or just they liked what they were standing for, they're looking at the verdict. They're waiting for that sentencing. Sorry.
Yep.
They're waiting for it. And can you imagine if they are found guilty, they're looking at 7 to 8 years. And on the same day, they look outside and there's people, pro-Palestine people protesting because it's October 7th. You know, just Concordia has events right now. So you know that at least in Quebec, and I don't know if you saw that, but over the weekend, there was something called Rise for Gaza. That was an international event put together by an organization called the Youth Movement. What was it? The Youth Palestinian Movement. YMP or YPM. Youth Palestinian Movement. It's a worldwide organization. They have that's something like 805,000 followers just on Instagram. And they have chapters all over the place. I found chapters in McGill. I found chapters in Toronto University. I found some in Ottawa University. This is something I want to do more research to try to connect them all together. But man, it could be a massive, massive powder keg because you know that everybody that supported the Freedom Convoy does not support the Free Palestine movement. Let's call it
and
it's not going to be.
It's not just going to be the supporting of. It's going to be why can they protest like that and we can't? And when this verdict comes out and there's a sentencing, jail time, I even expect the Palestinian side of things, the protesters, to say, you got jail, we don't, we can do it. This is a powder keg, and I think it's on purpose.
This is exactly what I'm saying, because this whole case drives me nuts, because every single weekend, wherever you are, doesn't matter that you're in Montreal, Toronto, you're in Ottawa, there's protests for pre-Palestine, there were protests for BLM, there were protests for everything. How many videos have I seen of them destroying statues here in Montreal that are hundreds of years old? They destroy public property, no consequences whatsoever. What was destroyed during the convoy? I was there, so be careful what you choose, because we didn't break anything. There was no violence.
They cleaned the streets, fed the poor, put a flag on the statue of oh boy, his name's slipping my head right now. They said they desecrated it. He crossed Canada, cancer guy.
Oh yeah, you're talking about Fox.
Yeah, Terry Fox. Sorry.
Terry
I'm
Fox,
trying to multitask on this end here, but yeah, they put a flag and a hat on him and they called it desecration. They cleaned the streets, fed the poor, was super peaceful, welcomed everybody. No, there was no destruction at all.
Yet here we are with, would you call them, you would call them the leaders, right? Of the Freedom Convoy, were they?
Yeah. There's basically five leaders or organizers. So Pat King, Bridget Belton, James Bauer, and then Chris Barber and Tamara Lich. So those five, you would say, are the leaders, the influencers, the organizers. There isn't just one, and there's certainly others that participated in helping, because there was 18 different groups identified in Ottawa during that time, and each one of those had their own leader, I guess you could say. But these were the Freedom Corp ones. Tom Marazzo too, but Tom Marazzo wasn't he wasn't targeted for charges. He was targeted for the $400 million lawsuit, though. But he didn't have, I think, videos where he said, hold the line, or let's block this intersection, or he didn't have stuff like that. So I would say maybe he would be like the sixth one who's identified as a bit of an organizer, because these are the people that they were trying to work with the city and the government and get the questions from the main freedom group there.
There's been an update by Right Blend from about 7 minutes ago. I'm just going to bring it up.
Yep. No, we have our people in the courtroom too.
So he's
and sometimes it takes quite a while.
Yeah. The judge has now entered and goes through admitting the Zoom users were permitted to observe. One from City News, a family member of Mr. Barber, someone else, and Bob. The judge says Bob is going to be in the waiting room for a while. So that's probably somebody that just somehow got his hand on the Zoom link. Because
no, they didn't respond to me. And it does have to be approved by the judge. And yeah, I don't have, and I guess I wasn't on that list. And my name's not Bob.
Maybe that's why you didn't come in. You weren't allowed to. He's also saying that 7 minutes ago, the judge says she has approval from counsel to not read the entirety of the decision, but will do her best to read the important parts. She reads the zero tolerance phone noise warning that any phone making noise will be seized. One goes off and she gives a warning, but she's not going to read the entirety of the decision. So yeah, I think
That means
Roy
this will
Glenn
be
is
pretty
kind of being
quick.
sarcastic here. He's being sarcastic here, but yeah. Alex
Well, that
Zoltan
means
of True North is admitted by Zoom.
what's that? True North is okay.
Alex Zoltan, yeah.
Oh yeah,
of
he
True
is
North.
from he's from Juneau.
But yeah, that's a shame that you didn't get your Zoom link.
No, I'm still refreshing here, and too bad. I think I just put it in too late. I put it in last night. It should have been on top of that one too.
When we were talking last night.
Yeah, basically, it was like, oh yeah, that's right. I can get that because I got the Pat King ones. I got other ones, no problem. But no, not this one.
Yeah. I should have been on top of that too. But I'm gonna go apply for independent journalists.
Yeah, Independent Press Galley of Canada.
Yeah, that's
what
that we can get
Rightblend
access
has.
to those.
Chris Dacey, myself, others have that now.
Yeah, it's not very complicated to obtain, right? I looked into it before. It doesn't seem too complicated, but it would be great to be able to report on those things as they happen.
Yeah. So 2 minutes ago, they started reading the sentencing. So because they're doing a quick version, we should probably get the answer pretty quick. Because normally they read the whole decision, which has all this case law and other stuff with it. Sounds like they're skipping that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. What do you think?
It's going to be a bad thing. I think it's meant to provoke because people get the sentencing without the justification at this stage. You'll have to get your hand on the full decision to read why they're doing it. I think this is going to upset people. Okay, the Carter ruling's been taken into account. What is a fair fit sentence? Oh boy. Yeah, okay, yeah. She's going to come down. She's going to give time. I'm just predicting, but they're talking about she is justifying what's about to come right now at this stage. Talking about Barbara's text messages. Is that the post you're
talking about? Is that the post you're talking
number 9
about here?
from Rightblend?
Oh no, that's number 8.
Yeah, number 9 is now out.
Number 9. Oh yeah, right here. That's the one you're talking about, huh?
Yeah. So read that last paragraph. I think she's preparing to justify what's about to happen.
They pointed to Barber's text about gridlocking, arguing it showed unlawful. The Crown says while both may have tried to work on mitigating the situation, it was not enough. Yeah, that does not. I agree with you on that one. That does not sound good at all. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, that's really.
So make sure you're also following. We're going to bring Rightblend's posts up, but go follow him as well. He's been spending years on this, spending his own money. Rightblend on X. Give him a follow, folks.
Yeah. Hold on. This is this page right here.
And Chris Dacey would normally be there, but he's in BC right now with the ostriches.
That's true. That's true because Chris Dacey's been covering that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to keep an eye on this. And we have Jeff Ely in the courtroom. So he's got the link as soon as he can. He'll probably join us. As we wait. But so far, and I know Rightblend, he's got his laptop and he types pretty quick. So he's doing his best to get this out as fast as possible.
But that's cool, though, that he's doing that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's the next best thing of having the Zoom link, right?
Yep, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I feel bad, but I'll be ahead of this next time to get links earlier, at least get on the list to get approved earlier.
Yeah, you're slacking off, bro.
Yeah, because for the Pat King one, I had to watch in a different window. I couldn't share the audio. I couldn't share the video, and I didn't. But I certainly was able to do play-by-play as it was coming out. And I'm just going to keep checking my email, maybe. But she didn't list me on the approved list there. So I guess I didn't make it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Okay, so yeah, I think they're setting the stage, provoking fights outside. Because that gentleman, I've met him many times. He's pretty laxed and cool. This group isn't a violent group at all. They've never been violent, and over 3.5 years, this hasn't been an issue. So I think there's provoking going on. They're trying to stoke this fire, see if something can blow.
I think you're
And
right,
I would
man.
encourage everybody to stay calm, stay cool. There's going to be appeals. If they leave the courtroom in cuffs, one or both, stay calm, stay cool. Just like in February 2022, they're going to try and provoke you. Don't fall for it. That's a honeypot. They're trying to get you to do what they want. The police are ready to arrest right on site, but do not. You will be upset. I get it. But there is going to be appeals. They'll be filed right away. This isn't going to be over today. This is just going to be one of the days that's going to be difficult. Or not, but she would be making new case law here, new precedents if she doesn't. Okay, so we have number 10, defense of Barber. I'm just reading through it right now. The defense says no sentence is warranted on this one. He's a family man. They don't take that into account. Even his business, they won't take that into account. He worked with the lawyers. He moved his truck. But again, the verdict's already in. This is going to be mitigating factors to try and minimize any sentence. And what the defense will be trying to do is get him as far away from 8 years as possible with these arguments. Oh, now the judge comment, though, that he misled the police. So she's definitely preparing herself for something that may not be good.
So is that the page you're looking at right now?
Number 10? Yeah, there you go. So judge, at least on one occasion, he misled the police to say the convoy was moving to Toronto, a game of cat and mouse. No, I think actually that wasn't misleading the police. I think that was part of a conversation they were having. It wasn't a cat and mouse thing. So the judge seems to be taking a side on this one.
We have a lot of woke judges in Canada. Let's not like
Yeah.
each other here. A lot of our judges are woke. And they're fully aware that they have the power to weaponize our justice system. And clearly this is what's going on right now. This is to crush dissent.
Well, Justice Perkins McVeigh, she did have one where she acquitted a gentleman associated to this. And then the Crown appealed it and then she lost on appeal. So she had her hand smacked by the system for acquitting somebody. So I don't know. I don't know if that plays a role in her decision making here. Like she doesn't want to be appealed or smacked. But we're gonna see. Like we were surprised with the sentencing for Carbert and Olenek. It was a lot higher than we thought it was going to come in as. And he did the same thing. He was kind of echoing a lot of the Crown's arguments. And because he didn't say guilty, they fought it. They usually take the position that these people are not remorseful because they would have just said guilty and give me my sentence, but they were not guilty throughout the trial. So usually they will come down a little bit harsher. Again, that's not my wish. So the people just coming in, that's not my wish. But
isn't
Magus,
it insane to consider that? It's insane to consider that. Of course, they're not why would they be remorseful? They didn't do anything wrong. Why would they be remorseful?
Yeah, and I suspect you'll hear that from this judge. She'll be like, well, you guys said not guilty. You haven't shown any remorse. And that will be a factor, an aggravating factor. So aggravating factors are when they add time. Mitigating factors are when they remove time. And there's going to be arguments from both sides. Mitigating on the defense, aggravating on the Crown. And the judge is probably going to land somewhere in the middle of that. Yeah. But I'm sorry, I'm still trying to read through the rest of this to give you guys a bit of a breakdown from my perspective. But thank you to Right Blend on this. He's doing good work.
I'm just going to show what you're looking at so that people know exactly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
what
you
you're
got my
doing
screen
right
now. Look at that. I better hide the other stuff I was looking at. But no, this is... Okay, let me go see if we have somebody going to be joining us. I've invited a few people. Hey, Chris Dacey says he can probably come. Just let me know we're live now. There we go. So Chris may be joining us. Dacey from BC. I'm sure he's following the same things we're following. Right Blend and him work together quite well. We'll see if there's an update here. Yeah, number 11. Defense for Leach. So they're going through this really quick. So Barber's defense already spoke. Leach now. Well, this is a judge reading, though. Leach is a mother. It's going to be mitigating. 8 mail and death threats. Of course she did. She probably still receives them all the time now. They're trying to argue they're not related to precedents, but the judge is not going to take that argument, I don't think. That warrants an absolute discharge. I would be shocked. Time served would be great. And again, they can still appeal this even if it is time served. Then the court acknowledges the victim impact statements are relevant and community impact may be relevant. Oh boy. And I've listened to some of these testimonies from the community. I was there for that part of the trial. I was in the courtroom for that part of the trial. I would say some of it is valid, but a large majority of it was over the top, exaggerated, definitely meant for sympathy and empathy from the court. Like saying things that they still hear the horn honking, phantom horn honking, things like that. I didn't really empathize with that one.
They have free Palestine protests on that same street, literally every weekend. Give me a break.
Mm.
I love when people that live in the downtown area complain that there's noise. Live in the country if you don't want to be impacted by noise. Just saying.
Yeah, even in the country, because I was listening to the council meeting yesterday for Brazeau County, and we have gravel pit mining, which generates a lot of noise. So certain areas, but these are all things that we live with and put up with in order to better our roads because we need the gravel. But look, I don't think this requires jail time because some people were disturbed and had trouble. Civil, they have a $400 million civil case going ahead too on the civil damages. That's where that belongs, not criminal. This criminal requires mens rea and actus reus. So mens rea is the mental portion of it, like you knew and you thought you would be harming somebody. And then actus reus is the act of it. I guess you can't really argue that horns weren't honked. That's pretty clear. But whether or not they meant that the honking of the horns would harm somebody, that's a part that would make it criminal if that could be proven. And I don't think that was proven in the court.
It blows my mind. It blows my mind that we're even talking about this. It absolutely. If I'm not saying anything, it's not because I have nothing to say. It's just it's hard for me to fathom that this is where we are right now. That people that protested against lockdowns, against tyranny, it was proven in court that Trudeau went overboard by using the Emergency Act on this. And yet you see those guys being sacrificed, saying, you know what? You'll never be able to convince me that this is not crushing dissent. You'll never be able to tell me that Bill C2, Bill C8, Bill C9, Bill C63 are not about crushing our freedom of speech. They're censoring us, and they're using our justice system against us to make sure that, again, the process is the punishment. How many people are looking at this case and they're like, I'm not going to be at the next protest? I can tell you, for the people out there, this is just encouraging me to continue doing what I'm doing, because this is how I lived my life. My two middle fingers up. You can all suck my because this is not going to stop me. On the contrary, that just means I need to talk about it more. But this is insane. It baffles me that this is what Canada's become, because this is not the Canada I grew up in. This is not the Canadian dream. This is not what Canada's supposed to be.
Yeah, and I just want to kind of highlight one thing. They really didn't go there to protest the mandates. They went there demanding answers on why the mandates. Like, they wanted a conversation. Many
You're right.
times I've spoken to them. And they,
Yeah,
and
no,
they
you're
said,
right.
look,
You're right.
yeah, they said if Trudeau would have sat down and explained to us, like, why is he doing this? They would have went home. They were looking for answers, and they weren't demanding he stop the mandates. They're like, why? Why are you going after us? Stopping us from working? Why are you doing that? So this was a big why that never got answered. And I
Obviously,
know
it
the
turned
media.
into something else. It was it was turned into something else, that they were standing up to the lockdowns. But let's assume for a second that was the case. So what? There's nothing illegal about protesting your government. We are allowed to protest, especially peacefully. You're never going to be able to convince me that they did something wrong, and Free Palestine, BLM, the climate change activists that destroy neighborhoods when they're protesting, that they're doing something right. If it's okay
No,
for
you're
them
right.
to do that, it's okay for us. If it's not okay for us to do that, it's not okay for them. But there's a two-tier justice system in Canada, and if they don't like you, they'll go after you. They are crushing dissent. That's all they're doing, and they're trying to silence us through the House of Commons and the Senate as we speak right now. Can you imagine if back in those days, 3 years ago, if they would have had access to Bill C2, Bill C8, Bill C9, and Bill C63, they would have been able to silence people from the start. They would have heard a few messages of people talking about this, internet cut off, you're done. It would have never spread.
And one of the chilling effects of this, you kind of touched on it, like, people won't protest anymore. But the main one about this trial is nobody steps forward to be a leader. Nobody wants to take that role on. And I saw this happen in the attempt to do this again in 2023, November 2023, when I went to the Castleman camp to talk to the people there. Nobody wanted to be a leader. They even kind of were hinting at that I should. And I'm like, absolutely not. Like, I'm here to report. I'm here to find out what's going on. But the chilling effect was nobody wants to stand up and be recognized as an organizer or leader. And same thing with the Coot side of things, with Marco van Hugenbos, Alex van Herk, and George Jensen. They were tried and convicted of mischief because they were in the cameras. They stood out. They were liaisoning with the police. So they got, marked as the actual leaders of it. And, Marco went into jail for that one. Speaking of, I'm going to reach out to him and see if he's available.
Here's a great comment by Dave B. They wanted a January 6th moment.
They did. They provoked it many times.
Instead, what I'm going to say is not they want a January 6th moment, because I can tell you, man, if they're found guilty and they end up not found guilty, they are guilty. Sorry. If they're sentenced to prison for this, it's going to be ugly. And again, like we said at the beginning of the stream, I don't know if you were there, Dave, but it's October 7th today. Do you think it's a coincidence that their judgment, that their sentencing is on October 7th? You think it's a coincidence 2 years after, when we see Free Palestine? That's why I keep on talking about the Free Palestine movement, because it's not, I don't believe in coincidences. I'm too old for this. There's no such thing as coincidence. If you think there's a coincidence, you're just not connecting the dot. That's it. That's how I see it. But it doesn't look good. I think they still want that January 7th moment, and they might get it. Can you imagine? Right now, again, in Montreal, they're protesting. They're protesting. Free Palestine movement on October 7th is protesting here in Montreal. Is it that far? And Ottawa's part of it. Ottawa U. I found connection to Ottawa U with the same organization I was talking about earlier. So what's to say that during the afternoon around 2, 1, they're going to start protesting right on the same street? You know that they could. They're very good at doing counter protests now and acting like victims if something happens. Oh, it's not our fault. Okay, sure. It's a powder keg, like you said, that has a potential one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with that arrest. Right. We saw that already. They're going to provoke, jump, plead victim, and you're going to see the freedom person escorted away. I do suspect what we'll see here is the same thing that happened after Charlie Kirk, which was there was an initial concern that there would be a response, but it was actually just vigils and prayers and people getting together peacefully. That's likely what I expect I'll see on this one. They may stay off the streets. They may go into the parks and have vigils and conversations that way. But we have the 12th update here from Right Blend now. Going through the impact statements, they're not evidence of harm, but they're treated with caution. While they provide some impact, the court gives greater weight to the witnesses who testified. And I sat there for those testimonies, Zexi Lee and others. They were amplified. And of course, everybody that was testifying for the Crown, or at least the two main ones, are also part of the $300 to $400 million lawsuit, the civil lawsuit. So they actually have a lot to gain by getting the criminal conviction here, because it's going to support their civil lawsuit going forward as well. So those connections exist, and I don't see the court recognizing that. They're giving them a lot of weight for their testimony, and not recognizing that they also have a financial gain if their testimony was compelling. That I think would have been a mitigating factor, but it doesn't seem to be highlighted here. Oh boy. The Shelter of Good Hope and Salvation Army not able to reach people. They didn't need to. The community was helping everybody already, feeding the homeless, and crime was down. You don't see those being brought forward. Here's Chris Dacey. He's in our lobby now. Go ahead, grab him. There he is. Morning, Dacey. How are you doing? You look cold.
It's chilly. The sun's up here now, but holy cow, yeah, it's chilly.
Welcome to the West. Welcome to the West. This is your first time out West, right?
In years, last time I was out West was I went to just flew into Comox. 99, I did glider pilot training in Comox, but I flew into the base and stayed on the base the whole time. So basically,
okay, so
my first time.
Yeah. Drink that coffee, warm yourself up. It's likely going to be a quick court session here today, because she's already accelerated or are going to be skipping reading the entire decision. So Right Blend, Jonathan here is posting as he always does. So we're expecting, here we go, number 13. We're expecting things to happen pretty quickly here, because they have an agreement not to read the entire decision. And as you know, those could take hours sometimes as they make their way through that.
Yeah, they're pretty in-depth,
Chris.
some of those things, for sure.
Yeah, and they're also emotionally difficult. Like, you think it's going the right way, and then it starts going the wrong way, and then it goes the right way, and then in the end you get your result.
Yeah, there's little nuggets in there normally, eh? Like the long preambles and a lot of wordy stuff, and then you get to pull out the little thing. If you pick it out, you're like, okay, this could be all right. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. They'll say something like, and the community supports them, and they were justified, but that sentence. You know, that's kind of how sometimes this goes. I know we're just armchair quarterbacking this at this stage, but what do you think is going to happen given the precedence of Pat King and the Coos guys and other trials in Ottawa?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, with Tamara, I think given the fact that she's spent some time in confinement, that probably likely, I don't know what the sentence would be, but I imagine she'll basically get something like time served or some conditions. With Chris, it's a little different, maybe. I think most of the other mischief convictions have had some sort of sentences, but they were house arrest, like non-custodial kind of sentences. I mean, technically custodial, but you know, at home. Jay Vanderweer comes to mind. I believe he had some sort of a house arrest scenario. He was allowed to work and go to church and a few other things. So, I mean, I could see something like that. I know for sure the Crown and the powers that be are going to want Chris to spend time in jail. I don't think that's necessarily likely given the precedent, but who knows with these things.
So you don't think Chris is going to end up in jail?
I mean, it's technically jail, I guess, even if it was a house arrest situation.
Sure.
But I mean, even with Pat, Chris has the two convictions, right? I believe it's mischief and consult to disobey court order, possibly. You know, people with similar convictions got very minimal sentences, if any. So it's hard to say. Chris is obviously, Chris's
Most
high
of the
mark.
time for mischief is fine, right?
Yeah. I mean, yes, and in the normal world, anyone else charged with mischief, right? Like it either gets tossed, withdrawn, or you get basically nothing. With these freedom convoy cases, are probably the strictest mischief penalties for these sort of things in Canadian history, and they're still not. I mean, they're not 8-year sentences. Although it was an indictable offense, I guess, in this case, right, Jason? Or?
Yeah, yeah, because they went for the higher end one, so they weren't summary, which would be 6 months. They went for the higher end one here, so they elected to be indictable. The Coots ones, the guys there. So Chris Carbert, he pled guilty. He instructed the jury to find him guilty on mischief because he did use his truck for one shipment of food from Milk River down to Coots, so he admitted to that, and he also admitted that he was invited into a leadership role. Whether or not he was able to get one is debatable, but he was invited into one. And the judge here in Alberta gave him 6 months for that prison. And Tony Olenek, he pled not guilty. He was found guilty by the jury for mischief. And his mischief that was proven in court was his truck was on the shoulder and half in the first lane. That was it. So he didn't participate in any other fashion, not on a leadership role. So his mischief was just having his truck parked half on the shoulder, half on the first lane. He got 6 months. Pat King, I can't remember what portion of his sentencing was just a mischief one, but it ended up being time served. So I can't remember if he got months or 4 months or something like that for the mischief.
I think it was 3 months, I believe. And in Pat's case, I think he was convicted maybe of 4. Like he was convicted of a few more things, I believe, that Chris was facing. So
yeah, I think like 4 out of the 7 or something along those lines. It's been a little bit of time. But I think what they're trying to do with this particular one is damper down anybody that wants to step forward as a leader. Some of the other ones you mentioned, they weren't really identified as leaders, but they were convicted of mischief. And right now, because update number 14 is here from Right Blend, they are talking about proportionality, the principle of proportionality, and also parity in circumstances. So parity means it needs to be very similar to others. You can't just go overboard with these ones. But here's one of these emotional roller coasters, Chris, that we were just talking about, where it sounds like, oh, she might be going in the right direction here. She's even highlighting that Chris Barber's business relies upon 60% of cross-border business, which means a criminal record would destroy his ability to participate in that. He wouldn't be able to cross the border. So here we're just at that stage now where the judge is kind of highlighting some of the mitigating factors, some of the things that will lower it. And you're correct, Chris. This could be served in the community. He could have curfews, he could have restrictions, he can lose his right to have firearms, things like that. These are conditions that they can put in place. Sometimes it's even as down to whether or not they can drink alcohol. It could be part of the conditions. I don't think that's a factor here because it didn't play a role in any of this. But he could have just a curfew for 6 months or something, and on good behavior, it could be over in 4. But after $10 million, the longest trial in Canadian history for mischief, the amount of effort the Crown put into this, they're pushing for time.
Yeah, they need their pound of flesh. They won't necessarily get what they want, but they definitely need to come out of this feeling like they've won something. And that's why I was kind of thinking this, in these cases where they get a conviction, but it's not necessarily jail time. In Chris's case, you're absolutely right, though. I mean, his job and his livelihood very much depends on being able to cross that border. I know he does a lot of work in Canada, too, but when you're a trucker, you got to be able to cross the border. So that's going to be a big one to keep an eye on.
And the part hasn't come up yet, but it will, where the judge says part of the sentencing aggravating factors are the deterrent for the public for doing the same thing. They do factor that into the sentence. So they want to make a deterrent for the public. That part will come up soon. They always say that.
That's exactly what I've been saying ever since I've been covering this. It's crushing dissent. They are setting an example so that people don't stand up to their governments anymore. And they're trying to pass Bill C2, C8, C9, C63 to make sure we can't even stand up anymore because they're just going to cut us off from the get-go. It's absolutely insane what we're seeing in Canada right now, and yet you see a lot of people on the left, they're applauding that because they don't like them. Oh, we don't like those people. so they deserve to go to jail for 7 or 8 years. Do you not understand the precedent that is setting, that for mischief you can end up in prison for 7 to 8 years? Are you kidding me? This is insane. It's absolutely insane. This is dystopian. I don't think George Orwell could have thought about this well.
Yeah, the precedent.
No.
Sorry,
Sorry,
Jason. The precedent is absolutely a big deal, but it's really, like, I think it's important to highlight that it's only certain people. Like, this example is being set for one group of people. I've seen quite a few other people charged with mischief in various protests. I'm thinking mainly Palestinian here, and basically every one of their charges, the times the police have gone in, their charges have been later dropped or stayed by the Crown. And I've actually had conversations at length with a number of Ottawa police about this, and they're very frustrated too. You know, they're trying to calm things down around here, and they're trying to do their job, and they're taking a risk making these arrests, and then later on to have the Crown drop them, right? Well, meanwhile, they're spending $10 million prosecuting Tamara and Chris, and it's very much an example being set, but it's not a consistent or fair example.
No, that's for sure. We were just talking about that earlier.
Yeah, he just gave another update. They're now comparing to other court cases from Freedom Convoy. So Pat King, who's in the courthouse right now as well, talking about his, because he was found to have planned to gridlock Ottawa and cause distress to residents. He was a lot more vocal about that than these two. But now they're doing the comparison to other ones, and this is tough. The Crown in that case sought 9 years for mischief and 1 year for counseling, a total of 10 years. Defense suggests a proper sentence would be 9 months. Here we go. Similar arguments to the King case. So yeah, she's now comparing to that one. I suspect we might see the Coots one come up as well. Pastor Arthur Aplowski, he received a sentence as well. But that was more incitement. I think his was incitement to mischief, not mischief itself. Incitement. Right. But still, I suspect we're going to see that come up as one of the comparisons here as well.
You know way more about this stuff than that Coots than me. I mean, I followed, but did did Arthur not go and preach? Like, did he incite by going to preach?
Yeah. So inside of Smuggler's Saloon, which was in Coots, he basically said, you have to stand up. They're going into the communist realm here. I've seen this before. I escaped this. This is all happening to you. You need to stand up on this. He didn't say anything about violence. He actually said, stay peaceful. Make sure you don't do anything like that. That's what they want. Don't fall for their trap along those lines. And it was a sermon. And that got him. He spent time in jail for that. And then he was sentenced, but with time served. And now he's appealing it. I don't think his appeal is being heard. It's been a while. Actually, now that we've mentioned him 3 times, I'm going to reach out to him and see if he can join us.
Yeah. I've had the pleasure of meeting him a few times. An event I did with Save Canada and his son, and I mean, man, I was inspired. After I saw him, I was back in Ottawa, and I was channeling my inner Arthur. After the police came at me, and I dropped the Gestapo on them.
Get out, you Nazis! Get out!
Yeah. I probably should have stuck to the Gestapo, but in that case, man, like I completely channeled my inner Arthur after meeting him.
Yeah, no, he's a good man. He's a good man. I've watched him privately and in public. He's a good man. I like that man. I know he's in the States right now because I spoke to him just a couple of days ago. But I sent him a link. We'll see if he can jump on and join us.
Can you blame him? Considering that, can you blame him? An outspoken pastor in Canada right now, you're in trouble. Just look at what's going on in the UK. They're literally getting arrested for speaking, for preaching on the side, but we have Muslims blocking Dundas and Young in Toronto to pray. That's okay. But somebody with a low speaker on the side of on the sidewalk with a microphone, that is no good. You cannot do that, bro. Like, come on.
In the last few weeks, and like if you go back even 2 months, like the amount of crazy things I've seen done in Ottawa, right? The Pride Parade shut down by Queers for Palestine, completely stalled out. And then a few weeks ago, the area in front of the Prime Minister's office completely taken over by climate activists, and then really taken over when the Palestinians came, and they painted the whole street. They were fighting police, like paint was flying everywhere, man. It was absolute insanity. And like I haven't heard a thing about that from the MSN, and I haven't really seen anything about charges or anything. There was literally people fighting cops, man, in the street in front of the prime ministers, and this was only a couple of weeks ago. So,
Yeah,
And
but
here
that's
they
what
go.
people
I knew,
like. That's
I
their
knew this
voting
was going to be
base.
coming
Like,
up.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sorry, guys. They're bringing in the Coots case now with Marco because he ended up getting a 4-month sentence. And they're saying it must send a deterrence. So here we go. They're making that argument right now, as we predicted. Also brought up Tyson Billings as well, which is, a lot of people know him as Freedom George. But here they go. And I'm suspecting the next update, because we're now on 16, is going to talk about Arthur Pawlowski as well, because, he's a bit of a leader. So here they're doing these connections as we expected, gentlemen.
So those Coots cases are going to be crucial, kind of. Like being in Ottawa and in a bit of my silo, I sometimes forget about those outcomes and the precedent that some of that set. I tend to think of those lower ones, but you're absolutely right. There's already been a whole number of really dangerous and extreme precedents set so far in some of these cases, right? Like it's going to affect a lot of things going forward, the way these cases shake out.
No, 100%. And I'm expecting this because I've been in the courtroom on both sides, in Alberta and Ontario, and they keep bringing up both of them. It's very incestuous, or whatever that term is, where they kind of feed off of each other. And they do it all the time. Like every single sentencing, even James Sowery, talking about Arthur Pawlowski or talking about some of the Coots or the Ottawa stuff. Even in Windsor, some of those came up. But Windsor, most of those kind of went away. But Coots in Ottawa certainly did not.
there's a new post by Right Blend Jason from about 1 minute ago. They're
We're on
referring again
17 now?
to King's case 16.
Yeah, that's what I was
So
just referring to.
Okay, the 30 million.
Yeah, number 16.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whew.
Man, he's covering it well.
Yeah,
Hey, by the way, Chris-
Jonathan is an absolute
Yeah.
machine. He's been doing this since the start, and he does some of the most detailed, like in real time, live tweeting or live posting of anything I've ever seen. And I know a lot of the family, and you couldn't really watch this online. I know Chris's family, and others, out west were watching really closely, and it was one of the only ways that they could get proper coverage. And I can tell how many people rely on John's coverage by their coverage, right? It's kind of just re-reporting of his. He's done a phenomenal job. So everyone follow Right Blend.
So I
Look
got a
at what
quote
we're
out of
doing
Pat
right now.
Pat King.
We're
So he
kind of
just
doing it
texted
right
me.
now.
Yeah, he says he is there. He's in the courtroom listening to this judge lie through her teeth. So he's not pleased with what he's hearing right now.
Yeah, I guess it was packed. The media was there, a bit of a circus out front, a bit of a tussle, and possibly an arrest. So it was a wild start to the thing. The courtroom's jammed.
Yeah, what's his name again? Brian?
Matt, yeah, so Matt Venn, yeah, we can, I guess, put that to anybody who's wondering. Matt Venn he's a loud and vocal guy that's he's kind of gone into
But
it
not
with a few
violent.
people, but no, not normally violent, but he does get pretty animated. He came at me a number of times as well. But he came at Brian Dirksen, I guess, a little too strongly, and it progressed into a bit of a tussle, and Brian ended up with Matt on the ground, and he mounted him basically. And the police came out and pulled them apart. Matt got arrested, talked to Johnny. So Brian was detained, possibly, but released. So there was a bit of a scuffle. Things got out of hand. Emotions are high, but we don't need that kind of stuff there. And Matt knows that.
Isn't Brian a supporter?
Yeah, both. Matt Venn, and Brian is the trucker that never left. He's been
He
here
shaved
forever.
because he did not look familiar.
Yeah, so a lot of people would know Brian that follow me. Brian's a great guy and non-violent guy, but if you come at him, he's going to defend himself.
Okay,
So which
thanks
one?
for
Hold on.
clarifying
Which
that.
one
I
was
didn't
Brian?
recognize him at all. Yeah, he must have shaved because he was.
Which one was Brian? The one that was
one that
clean
walked away.
suited.
Yeah,
So the
yeah,
one that
the older
was
one.
the
Yeah.
one with the white pants. That
Yeah,
takes a
that
lot of
sat
balls to
down.
wear white pants on a rainy day.
Yeah, the one that just this happened before when Brian Latour came and attacked Brian on Parliament Hill. Not similar, but kind of similar. The guy came up and got in Brian's face and took a swing at him, and then that video went super viral. And Brian ended up mounting the guy. It was kind of the same thing. When the police came, Brian just taps out and he's no problem, complies, and seemed to be okay. But hopefully that's the only kind of crazy distraction we have there today. It's not about that. But people are talking about it, and CBC was there. So Judy Trin already had that video out. So it's probably better I say something than not.
Okay, so there's another update here from Right Blend. Pat has said he'll try and join after this is done, so we may get Pat from the courthouse join us. But after going through aggravating and mitigating factors for Pat King's side of things, 12-month sentence was the court found was fit for him as his sentencing, and then he had 100 hours community service, but he also had time served as part of that calculation. No contact with Leach, etc., and more than 20 other people he can talk to. I think he's done now. So Pat's conditions are now off because he's able to talk to certain people again. But here's what she's doing. She's kind of setting the stage for some time. So Pat received, it looks like 12 months on his portion, but it was, he had time served and in the community. So this could be something that Leach might be looking at. Would be similar to this, where she'll have a bunch of conditions. And I bet you those conditions will now include Chris and Tamara cannot talk to each other during those conditions. They currently can. That got lifted, but that might be put back into place.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, that would be terrible, actually. Man. Yeah, and they've both been under such absurd and ridiculous conditions this whole time as well. You know, it's pretty wild. I'm gonna have to run, I guess, here. There's some stuff starting to go on, but keep in touch.
Can you give us a quick update from BC? There were some things with the vet yesterday.
Yeah, so that's the biggest update so far. The veterinarian for the farm made it out. He was here to check on a separate injured bird, not sick, injured. So a few days ago they had the death of Spirit, who the story being put out was that she was suffering from a previous illness or some kind of pre-existing condition is the wording they used. She had a leg injury, I guess, before, which was okay. She was healed up. And what happened was low-flying RCMP drones spooked her twice. She ran into something, flipped twice, and really hurt her leg, was being treated. But then once CFIA took over, that treatment, I guess, was not continued or was certainly not done properly. She ended up dying. An autopsy was done. Yeah, it's wild stuff. And the cause of death ended up being listed as sepsis. But I mean, it was an injury caused by neglect and flying drones too close. Then it was neglect that led to the condition that caused the sepsis, I would say.
So let's be clear. Sepsis means infection. The body basically shuts down because it's poisoning itself. But it wasn't avian flu, so it didn't die from the flu.
Yes, and no one is suggesting that, right? And even the CFIA autopsy is saying sepsis. I think what's really important to note is that it's not some sort of pre-existing health condition, as in sick or whatever. It was an old injury that had healed up and was doing okay, and then some new injuries and then neglect. So I think that's quite important. The vet that came yesterday checked on a different bird, was able to get some medication and give it to the bird. They weren't allowed to check or take blood, right? So the autopsy's been done. Family or their vet aren't allowed to do anything or check the deceased bird. That's about where things stand. It's been a little quiet the last few days. That's kind of mixed feelings on that one. Like basically everything is staged here, right? The 4 hay bale wall murder pen is built. There's ladders, on it. There's miles of fences up, but all the staging is basically done. So it seems like they're ready and just waiting here. So glad nothing's happening, but that's also, there's kind of a strange feeling hanging over. I'm going to try to sit down with Katie today and talk about a few of these things and maybe address some of the, there's a few vectors of attack I keep seeing and certain questions being asked. So I'm going to try to spend some time and sit down with her and maybe we can address some of those and dispel some rumors and answer questions for a few people. So that's kind of my plan today and follow all the craziness going on.
And I did check the Supreme Court. They are not planning to give a decision on this one on the 9th. There's a bunch of other applications for leave that they're going to give decisions on on the 9th. So this likely is going to go into next week at the earliest. But I keep refreshing and checking the Supreme Court postings, and I've asked the Supreme Court to add me to their media list so I can get maybe quicker information. But they currently on the docket for the 9th. This is not on there. There's other stuff, application for leave decisions coming up, but not this.
So that would be Thursday. Okay, so that's kind of the talk I was hearing too. So
and they don't sit Fridays, so that would be the end of the week.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that's the way things normally go. They also could happen differently. So I mean, I'm hoping kind of for a bit of calm and to, yeah, we'll see, we'll see.
Yeah. So
But
as you leave here, Chris, I'm
things
just
do
going to give you
seem
an
to
update.
be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll just give you a quick update from Right Blend here. They're now talking about the Coots side of things. So Freedom George or Billings, he received 6 months on his sentence. Another gentleman, Knotts, I'm not sure who that is. 12 months conditional sentence, which means he did it in the community, not in prison. Talking about Coots now, bringing it up, how similar. There was 2 weeks for them, and then there was more time in Ottawa. And there's Hugenbos and Jensen. Convicted of mischief by the jury. Missed Alex Van Herk as well. He was convicted as well. They were doing over 2 weeks, comparable timeline. Hugenboss found as a leadership role, emphasized to be denounced, so the public side of things. And you got 4 months. Yeah, that's true. So they're starting to do this. They're laying it out. It's going to be months, guys. It's not going to be weeks or anything like that. And as we saw with Hugenboss, they put him in. He didn't get to serve it in the community, even though he was a town councillor. He has a big ties, a large family, large responsibility. He served, I think, about 3 months or just over 2 months in prison for that one. So they're doing exactly what I'm expecting. I'm expecting the next update to say Arthur Pulowski. Because they're making their way through a bunch of the cases that have sentencing. And you notice that they're not bringing up any cases that didn't have sentencing at this stage. Only the ones that do have a sentencing.
Not surprised. Man,
Okay,
well,
Chris,
I'm glad Right Blend's there and getting the details out. I'm glad you guys are on this. And I know a lot of people are watching. I'll try to keep an eye on it today. And if you got a show or something, just shoot me a text anytime, Jason. And if I can jump on, I will.
Yeah. If you see us still live, we're on your stream right now. So you see us still live, jump on back. Yeah, you're awesome.
Okay, sounds good,
and
guys.
If you have some more information for us while we're still live about BC, feel free to jump on for that too.
Yeah. People are moving now, so I should have a better feel of what's going on here in a few minutes. So I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, brother.
Okay,
talk to you soon. Bye. All right, Nico, this is unraveling kind of how we seen before. Okay, number 19 now. Yeah. Oh, there we go. There's the magic word, Pulowski. Yep, there they go. So they're going through them all. So update number 19. There's Pulowski, the case of Pulowski. So this is unfolding the way we thought. They may even bring up James Sowery because he was sentenced as well, but he's out pending an appeal. Leave to appeal for Pulowski, Supreme Court was dismissed. Yes, there we go. So his appeal has kind of died now. And it remains to be good law in Alberta. So they're going to use that as binding or precedence, or what's the term? Not binding, but persuasive. And it's good law, which means the appeals are done on that one. So she's setting up the stage to provide at least months. It doesn't look like it's going to be years. None of these came out to be years, just months. So it looks like she's setting up for that.
And there seemed to be also a possibility of house arrest. Like it doesn't.
For sure.
Up to now, it seems like it might not be in prison. Which
well,
is
with the
thing,
exception,
right?
with the exception about the part about Marco van Hugenbos, because he was identified as the leader, he ended up getting time in, whereas others were kind of on a 1 degree away from being leadership, and they didn't. They got the community. But also the Pat King one, she raised it. It was 6 months, I think, or no, 12 months or 9 months. Anyways, several months.
It was 12
going
months
to be,
earlier.
Yeah, but he had time served. So we'll see where she goes with this. My prediction, not hope, my prediction is there's going to be time in there for at least Barber, because he hasn't spent any time in jail. So he has no time served right now. And then I expect him to be out quickly on appeal, pending that process as well. But as you just saw here with Pulowski, the Supreme Court dismissed his leave for an appeal. So Supreme Court won't touch this stuff. That will be binding on basically everybody else that tries to go that route. The Supreme Court very rarely will hear cases, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be the perfect case, though?
Who, Barbara Leach?
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll
think
see.
about
I
it-
don't know if they will be able to. Usually when it's the government filing an appeal at Supreme Court, they'll hear it. But if it's the people, it's rare. It's very rare. And while we're actually doing that, I'm going to pull up the Supreme Court on my phone and see if there's any changes to their announcements on their side. I've been watching these every single day to see if there's any updates. Nope. Same as yesterday. But
Talking about the
I'm
ostriches?
not expecting a result for the farm this week. It could be next
Yeah.
week. Yeah, I can feel it's getting somber. It's getting difficult.
Funny enough, man, it was kind of sunny when I got up. I just turned around
Is it
to go
cloudy?
upstairs to check on my son. It's raining and it's cloudy as hell outside. It's gray. So what you're saying is not just an emotion, it's visual right now for me at least. So yeah, it's,
Yep.
you know, man, I don't like where this is going. I really don't like it. It's not it's a dangerous precedent. That is a dangerous precedent for anybody that wants to protest.
Okay, and we still have Jeff and Pat in there, so I'm sure we'll get a text pretty quick when this actually comes out to final. She's making her way there. She's getting to the end of what they normally do with the sentencing. She might jump into some more case law, but it looks like she's gone through the main ones that we're aware of.
Yeah, I thought that would be.
What are your thoughts right now? It's cloudy for you. I haven't looked outside yet here.
Or am
I don't know if Padge is listening.
I don't like where this is going. I just don't like where this is going. It bothers me that the left cannot recognize what's actually going on, that one day that will bite them in the ass.
Mhm.
Like everything that's happening right now, it's precedents. Everything that they're trying to pass as per the bill, I'm going to say them a million times. C2, C8, C9, and C63 is literally surveillance, censorship, and now they're proving to us that they've weaponized our justice system. And that's what I'm seeing right now. And it's hard. You know, as much as I talk about this all the time, I talk about this every day, it's still hard for me to believe that this is the case. Like 1984 was not meant as a blueprint. It was meant as a warning. It wasn't a blueprint. And it seems, you know, there's a part in 1984 that you're missing. We don't know how we went from our society to their society. The book pretty much starts in the dystopian environment. But the more, since the first time I read this book years and years and years ago, I've been asking myself, how do we get there? How do we get there? Over the past couple of years, I'm like, this is exactly how we get there. This is exactly how we end up in 1984. And, you know, I remember when I watched Terminator for the first time, I thought that was science fiction, right? The AI that takes over the world. Now, science fiction is actually possible today. The same thing is true with 1984. I watched 1984 and I'm like, you know, like it's right there. Here's my collection just above me of books here, George Orwell, the book, the all-seeing eye. That's my Orwell collection, and I see it every day, and I'm just like, damn, he was so right. It is scary times, man. It is absolutely scary times right now.
Well, clearly my wife is listening because she sent me a message saying the sun is out. So over here it's okay. And here's update number 20. Here we go. We thought it was going in this direction as well. They're talking about Tony Olenek and Chris Carbert. They got 6 months for mischief. Yep, that's completely true. Talking about another man who got 2 years conditional sentence. I'm not sure who they're talking about here because this is not James Sowery, a mischief who pled guilty to a weapons offense. I actually don't know who that is. Let me try and think. Yeah, that's going to be a separate incident than the main one, so not the Coots 4. But Tony Olenek and Chris Carbert, there you go, Chris Carbert, 6 months for their part of the mischief. The Blanchfield case they're talking about as well. Defense argues copycat case, lasted only 10 hours, encourage others to continue from the top of his truck. And you got another one in Soprano. Not sure who that is spelling. Big protest. Oh, okay, yeah, these are some older ones going back before the convoy. 30 days jail, but 120-day conditional sentence. Yeah, so they're still making their way through these case laws. Comparable ones. Now they're kind of leaving the freedom side of things and just going back even further to previous ones where wrong button, Pat King and others. So we'll see where she goes with this. I am expecting months, whether it's conditional, meaning he can go home and he will have conditions like curfew or others, yet to be seen here. But she's brought up several of them that wasn't conditional. They were time.
Do
So we'll see
you?
where she goes with this. And by the
Here's
way,
a
Padge, I
question.
love you. Thanks for the update. Thanks for listening. I hope you're smiling right now.
If Chris Barber is found is sentenced to house arrest, for example, or
Mhm.
6 months outside of jail, does that prevent him from going to the US?
Oh, probably. Yeah, probably.
Because it's criminal,
Uh,
right?
Right, but he'd still be able to run his business and have other people cross the border. But yeah, probably he would be not able to go down to the US. Plus, if he's got a conviction record, he won't be able to cross the border anyways, whether it's conditional or not. The criminal record itself would be enough to stop him from traveling to the US.
That's my point. So any time that he's in trouble.
Correct. Yeah, no, pending appeal, pending a reversal and appeal, he would not be able to cross the border. Yeah.
Man, so
So-
now
But he'll run his business. He'll still be able to do that. Others can cross the border that work for him. That won't impact them. But I think the best case scenario is they both go home with conditional sentences. The worst case scenario is they both do not go home and they have to do the sentencing appeal and get them out as quick as possible.
you know, I'm as a guy that normally spends over the past 4 years, I spent half of my time in the US. And I want to continue doing that or even move there eventually. Who knows, right? If that's telling me that for the next people that are standing up for something, standing up to the government, they could get sentenced exactly how Tamara Lich and Chris Barber seems that they're going to get.
Yep.
Seems like it. That means that not only are you cutting me from you're crushing dissent, but you're also preventing a guy like you and I, for example, that knows that our words is going to get us in trouble with Bill C2, C8, C9, C63. I can't even leave the country. So I can't even go, like literally run away to the US and continue doing what I'm doing from there. They wouldn't allow me to leave by giving me a criminal record. So this is insane. I never thought about it until now. So basically, they're setting
Well, the charges
us up
are enough to stop you, dude. Like the charges are enough to stop you from crossing the border.
But that's exactly my point. So not only are they able, are they do they want the power to censor us right here? Not only are they weaponizing our justice system, because again, often the process is the punishment. But in the case that the process is not just the punishment, even if you get 6 months house arrest, I could be in trouble, not able to cross the US because I have a criminal record. So they're literally preventing me from escaping tyranny. Because to the people out there that don't think that what we're seeing, that what we're witnessing right now isn't tyranny, this is exactly how it goes. Those are the first step that we're seeing. Gun grabs, censorship, massive surveillance, crushing dissent, and weaponizing the justice system. We're seeing it live in real time. And people, I don't think that people out there realize how bad what we're seeing actually is, what it means for pretty much anybody. It's insane. It's absolutely insane what we're seeing right now.
And do you think there's a bigger agenda here? Because this is happening, it was happening in the States for the Jan 6, right? So 2 years, a lot of these people were in prison until Trump pardoned them all. Are we seeing a pattern here?
Sorry, I was reading a comment right here that I want to address, but say that again. My apologies, man.
No worries. Are you seeing a larger pattern here? Because in Jan 6, those guys were in prison for like 2 years or so before they got pardoned by Trump. So is this an attack globally or maybe a larger agenda on dissidents against the government?
Just look at what happened in Mexico. Did you hear about the president party yesterday? They're trying to tabled a bill, or that they're trying to push a law that will make it illegal to post meme about a public servant. So they're literally calling it the anti-meme law that could a dissident could be looking at 3 to 6 years. That's what they're trying to do in Mexico. So it is a worldwide thing. In the UK, look at what's going on in the UK. You're getting arrested for tweets. Look at what's going on in Australia. They want you to be able to prove that you're 18. At the end of the year, you will have to be 18 in order to be on social media. As much as people can say this is a good thing because it's going to prevent our children from accessing information that they probably shouldn't have access to, at the end of the day, that means that every single person online now in Australia, in order to access their social media platform, they will need to specify who they are. They will need to authenticate to say that account belongs to Jane Doe. Jane Doe has to prove who she is with a card that's issued by the government. So now the government knows every single account, who they belong to. How long do you think before they start putting the same laws in place as they have in the UK that they're trying to pass here as we speak? It's just a matter of time. Like everywhere you look in the West, it seems that this is happening. And those are all things that are being pushed by the WEF, the WHO, by the UN. Those are all things that are being pushed worldwide. They're all happening at the same time at different stages. So
Did
no,
you hear
this is not
about
a coincidence. This is happening all over the place. And I just wanted to address Griffin. Nico, it's been happening slowly for decades. 100%. It's just that, you know, that's always the trick. You go low bites, low bites, slow bites, slow bites, slow bites. It's just that right now we're at the end. This is the thing. We're at the end of where we'll be able to stop it. Because I'm telling you, if the digital ID becomes law and people go for it, we are done. I do not know what we can do in order to take back the digital ID that would be connected to your biometrics, that would be connected to your bank accounts. Just look at what happened in Vietnam. 86 million people got debanked overnight because they refused the digital ID. They woke up to nothing. They had no money. Their accounts weren't there anymore. So this is the situation. And I think the digital ID is the point of no return, because always remember, right? You can vote communism in, but you're going to have to fight to get it out. I just don't know. With AI, if you guys don't understand AI and the power of AI is so powerful now that it can allow a very small group of people to control the world through AI. Just look at Palantir, the software that they're developing, that they're trying to push through the US. What's his name? JD Vance was financed. Mm-hmm. His campaign was financed by Palantir. Go, for the people out there, go check what Palantir is. Go check what happens when the NSA has been collecting all the data that ever crossed the US over the past 15, 20 years. With a software like Palantir, they can literally track back everything and start putting predictions. Like, it's just a matter of time before you see something like Minority Report. Remember that movie? We had some precogs that were predicting the future. We don't need those humans. AI is capable of doing that with all that amount of data that's been collecting over the years. It's insane. Where we're going, technology is allowing this to really become dystopian on a world stage. It's not even on a state, on a country level anymore.
Well, let me update you something on Tanzania. This kind of went under the radar. In the
you want to bring Tom in?
Yeah, go ahead. Click the link there.
Hey, Tom.
In Tanzania.
Here we go.
Hey, sorry.
Nice to see you, brother.
Yeah, nice
no worries.
Too.
Probably just in time. You had an appointment. I'm just going to update Nico and the audience on the case out of Tanzania. This is a gentleman by the name of Saber. Let me get his name for you. Saber Kushian. He posted on Facebook against the government, criticized them. In Tanzania, they have what's called Decree 54, which says it's illegal to criticize the government. They just sentenced him to death for those posts on Facebook. So it's getting pretty harsh out there. They're shutting down all dissidents. Totally happening. And we got an update here from Right Blend from the courtroom. They're still going through trying to figure out if there's comparisons with all these other cases where there was a sentence of several months. It doesn't completely match anything else, so this is unique enough. that it may be different. But Tom, I'm not sure if you've been following this because of your appointment, but Coots came up, Arthur Pawlowski came up, the men came up, King came up. All of these ones where Mischief was guilty, and they received somewhere between 4 and 12 months their sentence. So your thoughts?
Yeah, I just before I logged on, I was checking with Right Blend as well, watching his commentary, and I did reach out to a couple of people that are in the courtroom right now, and everyone said just follow what Jonathan's doing. So
yeah.
I did read through all of the updates. It seems very reminiscent of the actual conviction. I was back there, I think, in May when they got their convictions read. It was 6 hours. This seems like it's going to be another. Just sit there for the next 6 hours and listen to me, and I'll tell you the punchline at the end of this massive joke. So yeah, it's quite disturbing, and and I think it's important to reflect from the last time that I was there and I sat in the courtroom when they heard their convictions or their verdict. There was no discussion, no mention, no reflection on the actions of the government that actually for the previous 2 years that led to the manifestation of the convoy itself. There was no consideration given to that from what I heard from the judge. And it doesn't look like that's what they're doing again. What it looks like what they're doing is they're looking at all the people that got convicted and sentenced, and they're applying that to them. But when and where are we ever going to hear a discussion anywhere in this legal apparatus within Canada that somebody's going to look at the actual steps and the actions taken by the government? And I want to point that out. There is one exception to that, which was Justice Mosley's judicial review. Now, remember, he found, after a year, that the government acted outside of their authority and declared that the Emergencies Act was illegal. It's gone to an appeal. Because remember, the Liberals, without even reading it, 5 minutes after the decision, came out publicly and said they're going to appeal it without even reading the thing. But I'm guessing they had an advance copy. And from my understanding, the appeal was heard almost 8 months ago, and the public is yet to be told. Now, isn't it interesting that decision hasn't been given to the public, but we're looking at Chris and Tamara's? Because I wonder how that decision would have impacted Chris and Tamara's sentencing today.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And so we're looking at the order of operations here and seeing some things should be, released to the public sooner rather than later.
And I think you're absolutely right. Like, even from when the Coots decisions came out and sentencing and King and all this kind of stuff, it was providing the framework and foundation for this one too. It didn't all happen at the same time. And the Mosley decision, I don't know if they got an advance copy or not, but I do know that when Chrystia Freeland took to that press conference, every single thing that she said that they were going to appeal on, those were the grounds that she's argued that they can appeal on. None of them were actually in the appeal by the government. So the appeal from the government was very different than what they claimed they were going to appeal on. I don't know if they had the advance copy or not, but they certainly changed their tone when it came to filing the paperwork. And yeah, I've spoken to one of the lead lawyers or two of the lead lawyers on that one. We're still waiting for that outcome. It hasn't been finished yet.
Yeah.
There is an update here from Right Blend, though. They are taking the morning break. They'll be back at about 10 o'clock Mountain, 12 o'clock Eastern, and they're expected to be finished up in that hour by 1 o'clock Eastern, the latest. So we are expecting to get the results within the next hour or so.
Good. And, ultimately, let's just have, I wish the courts would have a serious conversation about even their own complicity in the manifestation of the convoy itself. And I've had this conversation a few times with people before. It's not the most popular perspective, I think, among some of the lawyers out there as well. And it's the fact that the courts for the 2 years prior to COVID kept taking judicial notice over and over and over. And Jason, you and I have talked about this before. The courts kept saying, we are going to defer to the expertise of the public, or the medical experts. Okay, but if we look at Dr. Lorenko, I think she's the one in charge of Health Canada. She's not an MD, but this is who every month was signing. Every 30 days had to sign on the authorization for the government of Canada to continue giving the injections to the public without going through proper clinical trials. And so we saw a judiciary in this country who constantly, in my view, as not a lawyer or legally trained, but in my view, had a gross misconduct and a failure to protect the people of Canada by being a check and balance within our government system, where we have, the executive, we have the legislature, we have the judiciary. The judiciary never questioned the government. What they did is they just deferred to the government in every instance prior to the convoy. They never wanted to look at their evidence. They never wanted to question the government, but that's their job. That is why they have judicial independence. That's why they're the third sort of pillar of our government system. This is why we have checks and balances within that system. And the most important group of people that could have challenged the evidence and could have challenged the law were the judiciary. And instead, over and over, all they did was give judicial notice and let the government do whatever they want. And they disregarded their role in protecting society. And 2 years later, the convoy rolled into Ottawa. And now we got that same judiciary that are sitting in judgment over the very people who went to Ottawa to exercise their Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And they're the ones on trial, not the people who have already been found guilty by the Mosley decision. And so we talk about institutional integrity, institutional trust. The courts are in complete disrepute. And it's not just because of this case. Let's look at all the catch and release. Let's look at the Liberal vote this week, where the Liberals, the NDP, and the Bloc all voted to harm the Canadians in terms of their own public safety. I mean, I wrote on my Substack, I don't see a difference between, I don't know if you've watched the Netflix show, The Squid Game, but yeah, I don't see any difference between the Squid Game and the elbows up voters in this country. And this is the situation that we have. And maybe it's time to start talking about sanctuary cities within Canada. Let's put all the Liberal voters into designated sanctuary cities and give them what they keep begging for, and let them live the consequences of what they keep voting for, and leave the rest of us the hell alone. Maybe that's
I don't think we're going to have to give it to them. They're demanding it, 15-minute cities. So they're going to get a taste of that sometime soon. And when you were talking about the judicial notice, we saw another recent example of this one, Tom, and you've been following it as well, the BC ostrich situation. So the federal courts there threw out all of the expert opinions from the farm, only took the CFIA, so Canadian Food Inspection Agency's opinion. They didn't even have to bring in experts. Their opinion was enough for the federal court to go ahead and continue that. Do you have any confidence that this Supreme Court, which came out against the people, even said it was an occupation? The Chief Justice said that. They also threw out Arthur Pawlowski's appeal. Do you think the Supreme Court's going to have a positive verdict for the BC ostriches later next week?
No, I don't, because what we've seen repeatedly is that the judiciary, I think as much as 6 weeks ago, the judge in this particular case was Chris and Tamara, had no idea that bank accounts had been frozen during the Emergencies Act.
What?
Yeah, she had no idea. She got caught
Mosley then.
completely. No, she didn't. She doesn't understand the context of which she's presiding over, and she sees this from a very myopic lens, a very, very narrowly focused lens of what actually transpired during the convoy. And she didn't take a broad view. She didn't look at a national view unless it's somewhere written in a law book. And she's looking at cases where people have been persecuted by this. Now, when I think about Justice Wagner, Richard Wagner, he's the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. he put himself in a really untenable position. Any case related to the convoy that goes before the Supreme Court, he will have to recuse himself from that thing. So now you have a Chief Justice that's put himself into a biased position, in the threshold, from what I'm told by lawyers, for a judge to have to recuse themselves is actually very low. One wrong move and they have to recuse themselves from a specific case. But we have a guy, Richard Wagner, who during the convoy to the media spoke disparagingly about the convoy. So how can he possibly ever sit in front of a convoy related case in all seriousness and have any credibility when he's already come out publicly against it? Now, this is why, and this is now judicial politics. This is how he is never going to allow a COVID case to come into his court, ever.
No, none of them.
None of them will ever go into there. And I don't see how they're going to get around it. Like, he's not going to allow it. He's just not going to allow a convoy related case to come into his courtroom because he knows he has to recuse himself. And how can he do that as the Chief Justice himself?
Yeah, we have no other recourse.
Yeah, let's take this one step further too. You know, when Julie Payette was no longer the Governor General of Canada, do you know that Richard Wagner, most Canadians don't know this, Richard Wagner became the acting Governor General of Canada.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, in the interim, between Julie Payette and the current Governor General. We had the guy who was the acting Governor General of Canada, which is, you know, ceremonial at best, but in a position over the Prime Minister, while currently serving as the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Canada. So there's a big club, folks, and you ain't in it.
Do you...
No, I didn't know that detail.
Do you think it's done on purpose? Do you think that judge was chosen because of her ignorance, or is just excuses at this point? Because it's very... I don't believe in coincidences. Let's put that to the side right off the bat. Our justice system has been weaponized. Obviously, we're seeing it right now. But do you think those woke judges are playing dumb, or do you actually think that they are? Or naive? If you don't like dumb, we can call it naive if you want.
I think they live in a bubble, and I think they're exceptionally naive. I don't think they understand the harms to their institutions that they've all caused. And I don't think they care, to be honest. I don't believe even for a minute that they care. But what's interesting, my hopes were very high for this particular judge because she was the judge who presided over Admiral Norman's case. And for viewers that don't know, Admiral Norman was the Vice Chief of Defense Staff for the Canadian military. The Trudeau government went after him. The RCMP raided his house and accused him of basically of espionage. And you know, this Justice Perkins McVeigh was the judge who presided over his case. He was fully exonerated on those charges that were brought about by the RCMP. It was all politically motivated. It was all because Justin Trudeau wanted to give a contract over to his buddies in Quebec that was, you know, improperly done, that doesn't follow Treasury Board guidelines or rules or any of that stuff. But he put his foot down on that issue. And so the next thing you know, the RCMP are raiding his house. He's being relieved of command or relieved of his duties as the VCDS. Fast forward, she was the judge that presided over his case. He was fully exonerated and then went and sued the federal government and won that as well. They offered to give him his old job back, but he said, how can I go back to that? Right. So I was very hopeful that she was going to do this, but then you raise the point of ignorance. I think she's unbelievably ignorant of the big picture of what's really going on. And maybe she's oblivious to it. Maybe she's complicit. I don't think so, because what I have seen also, there were a couple of COVID cases that came before her, and her own colleagues, will say loosely, started to attack her. And we're demanding actual appeals on at least one other decision that I saw that she made related to COVID. So what we saw in the beginning is that she seemed to have a good reputation of being fair and balanced in abiding by the law. But we're also seeing a completely one-sided review of this particular case. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I'm never going to be a judge or even a JP. But I think overall there has to be an examination of the context in which the convoy was even made manifest in this country. 2 years of protesting, not a single politician listened to anything that the public had to say about it. And as a result, the convoy went there. And here we are. You know, the only people standing trial right now in the longest running mischief trial in Canadian history, the most expensive mischief trial in Canadian history for mischief. And by the way, I'm going to add this too. This whole line of questioning, this argument, this conviction that Chris got for the honking the horns and not abiding by the horn injunction, I have to say I call BS on that entire thing. Because if you look at McLean's injunction when it was given on the 7th of February, he basically said, look, you guys can stay. You have a legal right to be there and protest. Just stop honking the horns. Well, the federal government overrode that decision when they invoked the Emergencies Act. And so when Chris started encouraging people to honk their horns, I personally viewed it as a form of self-defense. What he was saying was, listen, if the police attack, then they're violating the McLean horn injunction, because he ruled that we all had a right to be here. So if the police attack first, they have violated the injunction. Therefore, honk your horn as a form of self-defense, wake everyone up and tell them that you're about to be arrested and raided by the police. So that's kind of how I view it. So to sit here and convict Chris of breaking the law, well, who broke the law first? Who broke the agreement first? I would argue that it was the Ottawa police, not the OPP or anyone else. I would argue it was the Ottawa police. So again, it's a double standard, right? Completely double standard. And what's happening right now in Ottawa this week in terms of other protests are going on? Are any of those people going to be, held for a mischief trial? No, they're not.
You heard about the pro-Palestine, like Ottawa canceling the noise tickets for the pro-Palestinian demonstration in late 2023, 2024, right? Tell me there's not a two-tier system right here. They're allowed to protest whenever they want. They're allowed to make all the noise that they want. I'm in Montreal. They've destroyed... They destroy the street they walk on. They destroy statues. Call it pro-Palestine, call it BLM, call it the climate change protesters. They're all the same people.
Yes.
Yet, no consequences for their action. There's no problem. Today at McGill, at both McGill and Concordia, they're having protests on October 7th, pro-Palestinian protests on October 7th.
Yeah.
That's not a coincidence, right? Like, come on.
It's pretty brazen. Very overt. It's a big screw you. And in Montreal, they had their Muslim call to prayer right in front of the church. I'm sorry, but
Notre
you
Dame
have
Basilica.
Yeah,
I'm right here. I'm super close to it. Yeah.
Yeah, you literally have places of worship all throughout Montreal. Why do you have to do it on the street, blocking traffic in front of a Christian church? Why do you have to do it there? It's
not just a Christian church. I'm sorry to cut you off, but the nicest Christian church, if not the most renowned Christian church in Canada. It's not any other one. It's literally, if you've ever been there, it is a masterpiece. It is a beautiful, you don't need to be Christian to appreciate Notre Dame Basilique in Montreal. It is a beautiful, beautiful monument. Beautiful.
Yes. And it wasn't selected out of oops, we didn't know. No, you knew exactly what it was. But let's talk about the protections that they get from law enforcement and the courts and the local politicians. They get the protections. But if you are somebody who identifies as coming from a Christian descent in this country, forget it. Forget it. You have no Charter of Rights. I mean, we're seeing people get ticketed for waving the flag in the wrong area. The Canadian flag. You're not allowed to fly it everywhere in Ottawa right now, right? Like, it's ridiculous. It is, and it's intentional. It's overt. In my view, personally, I think it is meant to antagonize Canadian-born people of Christian heritage into taking the bait and reacting very negatively, and I think it is it's a massive piece of bait. And I'm very impressed with the Christian community across this country who have not responded and taken that bait. But it's only going to go on for so long. It can only go on for so long. At some point, we will get to a breaking point.
I agree.
And it's sad, but I think that that's actually the truth. But it'll
Now,
be
I
Christians
want
that will be put on trial for it.
now I
Nobody
want
else.
to take us back to something you were talking about earlier there, Tom, about Perkins McVeigh and her history about being appealed.
Mhm.
So the case she saw or heard was Alan Remley, and he was accused of mischief during the convoy, and he had the mobile gas station, so he was using a child's wagon loaded with jerry cans. She acquitted
Mhm.
him,
Mhm.
but the Crown appealed it, and it was overturned. So that was the slap of the hand that happened during this trial with Barbara Leach that she
Yes.
received for going ahead and acquitting somebody. And again, all he did was he had jerry cans in a wagon, and he was bringing it for the heating of the trucks, and also so they don't seize up. You got to keep those things
Mhm.
running from time to time. And she acquitted him, but this is what judges are very worried about: are appeals and their decisions being overturned. This is kind of like a loss for them when they get that, and that happened during the Barbara Leach trial. So I think
Mhm.
prior to that, Tom, I was very hopeful with her, just kind of like you were, where you're mentioning her previous case. I was hopeful for her, but when this happened to her during the trial of this, I was very concerned. And I don't want to say that's when we saw a change in her approach on how she ran her trial, but reaching that guilty verdict, I think, was influenced by that appeal that she had to go through.
Yes, I agree with that as well. But here we are, right? Here we are. We're constantly referencing the actions of the public, but we're never reflecting on the actions of the government. It's
Correct.
always us. It's always you. You're the problem. You are the ones who are misbehaving. That we don't care about your abused child syndrome that you've suffered on behalf of the government. It was how you misbehave when you didn't like what the government was doing. And for people that don't know, I was with Chris and Tamara, Eva Chipiuk, and Brian Peckford and his wife Carol, and we were all sitting in a room together having a coffee. It was the first time I got to meet Premier Peckford, and he was describing to us the days when they were creating the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in this country. And as I'm sitting with the last living person who signed the thing, Keith Wilson walked into the room and told us that we no longer had the rights that Brian Peckford had worked so hard to give us all as Canadians.
Right.
In an American context, that would be like sitting with John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and George Washington and finding out that, yeah, you no longer have rights in your country anymore. That's the only sort of equivalent example I can come up with. It's a modern day example, but this is where we were at. And again, when and where do we start examining the actions of the government? I mean, the NCI did an amazing job. They have continued to do an amazing job examining everything that was done to the public.
Mm-hmm.
But have you seen any of the political parties pick it up and even talk about it one time in the House of Commons? Not one time. Has anybody in the House of Commons referenced the NCI? Not one time.
And they won't.
No,
You know
I
that they
don't think
won't.
that's a coincidence.
No. But it's our fault, right? And Jason, you and I have had many conversations about being independent candidates and stuff like that. And I think the government will always protect itself before it protects the people. And I'm a very strong believer in two things: independent candidates. And if you can't come together as an independent candidate, then join a party that does not whip votes, where those members in that party have a free and open vote as MPPs, MLAs, or MPs, to have an open free vote, to vote for their constituents, not for their party first. Because we have a system of government in this country where the only vote that actually matters is the leader of each of the parties. That's the only vote that matters. All the MPPs, MLAs, MPs, that's all window dressing. Because when your party leader tells you this is the way you're voting, that means that each of those representatives are just administrative assistants for the leader in your constituency. That's all they are. It's all a big fantasy. And so support people that are independent candidates, or support parties where their party, as part of their party charter or constitution, does not whip votes. All the votes are free and open. That's more close to the system we should have. But we are miles away from that. And I think people will be really disappointed if they keep thinking that there's a political messiah out there that's going to come and save us from all of this stuff. There is no political messiah out there. The political messiah is you getting off of your ass and putting the best interest of yourself, your family, and your province, your city, and your country ahead of your tribalistic political party. That's how we get out of this. And like Eva always says, democracy is really hard. And Candace Owens says, get a helmet. Right? But get in the game and start making these people accountable. You need to be on the phone, sending them letters, doing everything you can to tell them, you listen to me, your constituent, before you do what your party leader tells you. But that's not what we have here. We have an absolute dominating power of attorney relationship with all of the elected reps that we have in this country. And until we end the power of attorney relationship with representatives, elbows up.
The session's back in. Right Blend has, Jonathan's posted another one. Now they're starting to go through the aggravating factors, things like Barber knew that it would be aggravating the residents. So she's kind of laying out the next step of this. At a press conference with Leach and others, a report stating people are fed up, blaring of noise, harassment of people on streets. By the way, that's fake news. It was the other way around. Residents were actually violent towards some of the people there. But in either case, they're laying out the aggravating factors here for both of them, Leach and Barber at this stage. Barber on TikTok Feb 4th stated that few people in the high rise don't like noise, don't know what I can do to help, I guess. He's kind of just not encouraging it, but accepting that that's happening. So you can see here, Tom and Nico, that she's laying out the aggravating factors here. And Tom, earlier, and yeah, you were reading Wright's or Jonathan's coverage. They gave a lot of weight to the testimony of the witnesses like Zexi Lee, somebody that you're familiar with on your side of things. I don't know if you can even talk about that because that's still before the courts. But I was in the courtroom when she testified, and she was very exaggerated during that. And she has a lot to gain from this sentencing and verdict moving forward with that civil case.
Yeah, she has 290 million reasons for this case to see two severe sentences. That's what motivates her. We saw during the Public Order Emergency Commission video of her throwing eggs at the truckers. But she's held up as the gold standard of civility and citizenship and was given an award by Steve Bell for being such a great citizen of Ottawa that she threw eggs at people. I think any good lawyer who's going to get a good solid cross-examination of her in the future is going to just easily be able to punch holes in her testimony, in her credibility as even the lead plaintiff for Paul Champ's lawsuit. So yeah, it really does dishearten me to hear people talk about Zexi Lee and some of the other people and give actual testimony when they mention things like microaggressions and phantom honking. But we're hearing testimony from the witness impact statements on the positive side. Let's talk about the number of people all of us have met. Myself, Chris, Danny, Tamara, Keith, Eva, everybody have heard testimony about people that were suicidal and were about to kill themselves before that convoy showed up and got into the city of Ottawa. I have met grown men cry on my shoulder I can think of 2 occasions, grown men crying on my shoulder, basically saying I was about to end it all until you guys showed up. Where's that in comparison to hearing microaggressions and phantom honking? How about the 6-year-old that I know about was suicidal before the convoy started, in comparison to Zexi Lee's phantom honking and microaggressions? This is the kind of, I mean, let's get serious about this. Let's put this into perspective. I'm sorry you're stupid enough to purchase a house in the nation's capital when 1 out of every 3 days there's a protest in your downtown core. And you're upset with 3 weeks. I'm sorry, you moved into the country's capital city. It's not your city. It is the nation's capital. The people that reside inside the House of Commons are the ones who directly set the conditions for all of the horrible things that happened to people during COVID in this country. That is the center of power, and therefore the public went there to protest the center of power. I'm sorry if after 1 in 3 days you didn't realize where you were living and you were upset by horn honking up until the 7th of February. I'm sorry if that offends you. But you know what?
But they have no problem when Palestinians, pro-Palestinians do it, right?
Yes.
Again, it's the 2-tier system. There's nothing, there's no problem there. Just a problem when it's the truckers. And, you know, Tom, during the protest, there was a lot of protest in Quebec. We had 150,000 people protest. And all I did is give free hugs. I walked around with free hugs. I've given at least 2,000-3,000, if not more, hugs. And the men that you're talking about, I didn't see 2. I had hundreds of grown men and older women that are like, they felt abandoned. Their families abandoned them. They couldn't see anybody. They were alone. And they're like, protests like this, marches like this, I finally see people in the flesh, people that are not scared to touch me. So I know exactly what you're saying. And that was throughout the country. It wasn't just in Ottawa. I saw that all over Quebec, all over Ottawa, because I was at the convoy and I gave a bunch of hugs there too. So back at you. You're absolutely right.
I do want to bring this video forward from David Creighton, who's there. He did a short little video here with Pat during the break, and he wanted us to share it. So I want to go ahead and do that for David. It's 11 seconds. So let's see what he has to say here.
Was it announced?
How did it go?
It's a shit show. Just like mine.
Yeah, we got the same comment from Pat while he was in there. They're telling a bunch of lies. So thank you to David for providing that quick little video for us.
Okay.
Sorry about that. We're still waiting for the result here, so I may interrupt again as I'm refreshing on my side.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I saw one of the comments just now while you were playing that. Bumpy Johnson makes a comment.
We don't highlight that guy.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, you know,
he's an agitator.
I can tell you, because I was the guy who identified it, and I was the guy who was policing it. Me and a team of people for emergency lanes. I can tell you fact that we policed and kept those emergency lanes open, and I can tell you fact on more than one occasion, the police would ask me to go and check out an intersection or an emergency lane that was blocked, only for me to go and find it was actually the police or the city's heavy equipment that was blocking the lane, not us. So, you know, I let this guy be an agitator, that's fine, but I welcome the agitators to come in, join this. Not that it's your show though, but I can poke holes at every single one of these points because I lived it. I wrote a book about it, and I was at the POEC for 7.5 weeks, and I heard all the testimony. So I can poke holes in these ridiculous accusations all day long, while people like that show up and bring their CBC talking points. I can do this all day long because I have the truth and the facts and the testimony all on my side. And I will quote the actual testimony from the police themselves. So bring it on. You know, like this is, we're way past the point of regurgitating the anchorman's talking points because you just didn't like something. Like,
yeah, we've given that guy enough time already, Tom. That guy has sent emails to the whole council that I'm running for. I'm running a municipal election, sent a bunch of slanderous emails. So we've spent enough time on that particular person, if you don't mind. There is no genuine attempt to have a counterpoint with that person. That person's out to destroy us. So if you don't mind, I'll move on from that guy.
Yeah, elbows up, Bumpy.
Yeah,
'Cause it's
yeah.
going to get bumpy.
In either
It's
case.
going to get bumpy. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's another update here from Right Blend again. So they're making their way through some more of the mitigating factors now, where there was a pro-social individuals have large support from family and large numbers of supporters. Obviously, I think Perkins McVeigh has seen what happens in that courtroom. A lot of people showing up all the time, very dedicated people filling that courtroom today. So you've definitely seen that support from the community. There's reached a good faith agreement to reduce footprint of the convoy, and you were kind of alluding to this as well. And I also want to kind of back you up on a lot of things you said there, Tom, because I was in the Pat King trial where the city transit system was testifying, and buses weren't even delayed during this either. They were able to reroute and keep their schedule, and they couldn't bring forward a single incident where a bus was blocked or delayed during this. So transit was working. You always kept an emergency lane open, and yes, we also heard testimony from the city during Pat King's trial that when there was blockages, it was the police or they were using city vehicles like some of their larger equipment. They were using that to block some of the streets. It wasn't trucks or the protesters. So you're correct on that. You were there. So it's pretty easy for you to testify to that. But I saw the testimony of the city, the transit officials, and the police during Pat King's trial confirm all of that as well.
Yeah. And there is a video that I had seen in the past where there was discussion during the POEC of, buses getting down. And somebody, I don't remember which of the lawyers, basically showed video of a bus actually going right down Wellington. Like part of it. Like there was a section of Wellington where a bus was actually, sorry, not Wellington, I meant to say Metcalfe could get down there. Only 2 blocks south of Wellington. So, we can do this all day.
Yeah, no, in Pat King's trial, even when he was calling for the going to the airport, the transit testified and the police testified there was no delays, nobody missed a flight, transit was getting through just fine. Even though it was a rolling protest, it didn't actually impact the public. We've heard all of these already. There's a lot of people still replicating CBC garbage, trying to provoke, and they're actually trying to entice negative responses out of people like us who work hard to bring the truth forward. But we ignore some of these people at this stage, especially the one you highlighted there. That one's been on my family, messages to my wife, attacking her as well. So there's a line, and that person's crossed it many times.
Right.
Let me address one though, because Long Meadow seems to believe that I have a disdain for other Canadians protesting. They have their protests, I have mine. I believe in free speech 100%. I believe that you're allowed to say whatever the fuck you want, and the government's not able to stop you. My point that I've been making for months now, is the 2-tier policing system that we have in Canada. Christian pastors are getting arrested for preaching on the sidewalk, while you have hundreds of Muslims praying on a Sunday that has nothing religious about it, in their religion, in front of the nicest church in Canada, Notre-Dame de Basilique, right here in Montreal. They take over parks all the time to public pray when they have hundreds of mosques here. They're protected by the police. They do it on Yonge and Dundas in Toronto. They block the busiest intersection in Canada, not Toronto, Canada, to pray. They have hundreds of mosques. We get arrested. If I were to pick up my Bible today and go preach on a sidewalk, I might get arrested. That is the difference. They're allowed to protest. We're not. There are protests every single fucking weekend in Ottawa. They just got their tickets for noise complaints dropped by the same government that's prosecuting Tamara Lich and Chris Barber, and they're telling them that they were making too much noise. If you don't see the 2-tier policing here, you're the one that's blind. They're allowed to protest. I really don't care that, in my opinion, they're a bunch of morons that are protesting for the wrong reasons. They're protesting for something that's going on in the Middle East when our government is going after free speech. They're trying to pass 4 bills, C2, C8, C9, and a new bill, C63, that will censor us, and we will be facing up to life in prison for speaking something that they don't like. So to me, they're a bunch of morons because they're not protesting for the right thing, but they have the right to be morons, and I will fight for their rights to be morons. But you cannot tell me that I have the same rights as they do when it comes to protesting, because clearly what we're covering today is proving to you that there's a two-tier policing, and it's time for you to open your fucking eyes. Because I don't care if they're protesting. Good for them if they want to protest. But that means we have the right too. And that is not a right that comes from the government, by the way. That's a God-given right. The government can do whatever the fuck they want. It's never going to stop me from talking about it. It's never going to stop me from protesting. Done. Sorry. That's my rant. I'm going to stop it right there.
And I would back up on that. The two-tiered portion of this is what is the offensive portion. Rules for thee, but not for me. That kind of attitude. And yeah, that's absolutely. If everybody was treated the exact same way, this wouldn't be such a pain point. But I also don't think we've seen this trial.
Let's go back in time a little bit too, prior to the convoy. What happened at Grace Life Church in Alberta? A pre-dawn raid on the Grace Life Church in Alberta, where the RCMP sent over 50 RCMP officers in a pre-dawn raid to surround that church, arrest Pastor Tim Coates. He went into remand for 35 days, and the first 14 were in solitary confinement. How many mosques, synagogues, temples, you name it, had that happen to them in this country? Other than Christians. Tim Coates.
I do want to interrupt quickly with a quote from the judge right now. I must reject both sentences of Crown and defense. So she's going to come in the middle. She's not going to give a conditional discharge, and she's not going to go for 8 years. She's already hinted she's coming into the middle of that one. Sorry about that, Tom.
No, that's okay. That's okay. It's important. I mean, that's why we're here. And we could bitch about this stuff all day long, and I think we'd be pretty justified to do so. But yeah, I mean,
well, we can, because with Bill C2, 8, and 9, and then the return of 63, we might all be sharing a room one day soon. I would love to have you guys as bunkmates.
Yeah. Well, listen, we have to be open and honest. I mean, if we had a government right now that saw, let's say, 115 temples that were either vandalized or burned to the ground in the last 3 years because of let's say an incident that in the past the Canadian government did to I'm just anyone other than Indigenous people in Canada. There'd be hate crime legislation supported by the Uniparty, all 338 plus a couple new ones now, right across Canada. But because it's happening to Christians, crickets. There's at least 115 crime scenes in this country. How many arrests have been made? During COVID, this is a true story, and I know this because one of the victims was in my son's kindergarten class. London, Ontario, saw a young, very troubled Caucasian male ran over an entire family in London, Ontario, and killed 4 people. It killed the parents, a grandparent, and one of the children, and the son actually was the only one who survived. And it was during a lockdown, or at very least during masking. And he killed this family, and they said that it was Islamophobia. It was a hate crime. It was motivated by his bigotry. No, he was just a known young man who was troubled, and he was known by the London police, and he killed that family. And Justin Trudeau and Doug Ford could not help themselves to go there and talk about this being Islamophobia and a hate crime, and broke their own COVID restrictions and went into and did this big vigil type of thing. How about the time George Floyd, when he was killed, and Justin Trudeau took a knee for 8.5 minutes? For a guy that isn't even a Canadian citizen, for a government that has nothing to do with our legal apparatus at all. So yeah, there's a double standard. A
lifelong criminal. I'm sorry, Tom. You're being very polite. Yes. We're talking about a guy that held a gun to a woman's stomach while she was pregnant. Let's be very honest here. You're talking about a guy that died from a fentanyl overdose, not from Derek Chauvin's knee. This is something I covered so much. This is, agreed. So we have a prime minister that took an 8-minute knee for a known criminal. This is what he did. It's not just BLM. We're talking about a lifelong criminal.
Yes. But here you are. you look at everything that is happening to Christians across this country right now.
Mhm.
And again, look at the double standard, constant double standard. I mean, I don't think it's worth getting into the land acknowledgements here, because I think I will personally go a little bit insane because I don't agree with them. I think they're fundamentally wrong. And if you really want to know, I'm not going to make a plug for my Substack, but I do write
You
about these
can.
types of things. I write about these things often in my Substack, because I will not be shamed into accepting blame for something that had nothing to do with me, for people that are no longer alive, and there are no victims right now, in which I am the perpetrator of their oppression. So yeah, I think that there is a massive double standard for the people who, and this is an important thing to get into. Okay, why is it that there are so many people that are flocking to this part of the world? Why are third world citizens flocking to first world nations? Instead of saying, you know what, that's a model that I really, really like. Instead of terraforming Canada, why don't we build what Canada built in our country, or the United States, or England, or France, or any of these first world nations? Why don't the third world countries do that? Why? Because our governments allow them to skip to the head of the line and take from us, and then try to shame us for, the fruits of the labors of our parents, our grandparents, and other generations that built this. And now we're supposed to be shamed into giving it away. I'm sorry, I did my 25 years in the army. But why is it that my army pension is less than somebody who is apparently seeking asylum in Toronto, getting $82,000 a year? And by the way, with some of that money, those asylum seekers, I'm pretty sure there's reports out there that, and I can't confirm it, that they like to go home on vacation into the country that they're seeking asylum from, paid for by you and me. I'm educated. I served in the military. I was a teacher. I worked other jobs. I work a new job now. I don't break the law. I participated in a democratic charter of right and freedom protest in this country. I did everything I could to be safe, responsible, and secure for everybody involved: the residents, the police, all EMS, the truckers, everybody. But here we are. We're the ones on trial for everything that we do. We follow the law and we go to trial. This is the situation we're in.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
want to get back to Ottawa
Sure.
on this
No,
one, if you
please
mind.
do.
So, Tom, what do you think will be, because we're definitely going to get a sentence here, because she's already said she's not going to give a conditional sentencing at this stage. Can be appropriate. She's talking about maybe it's appropriate. Van Herk, he did a good job on his conditional. Hugenbos was put in for 4 months. Well, he got a 4-month sentence. Kind of making our way there. Do you think, no matter what, if they leave the courtroom in cuffs and have to go do some time, what will be the response from people? It will be closer to what happened with Charlie Kirk, where there'll be vigils and prayers and people coming together for hugs. What do you think will be the response from Canada on this one?
I've thought a lot about this. I really have thought a lot about this, and I've come down on the fact of nothing. There'll be some vigils. There'll be some social media for a day or two, and nothing
But
will
there
come
won't be
of it.
riots, what you're saying. You
There
don't
won't
think
be
that's
riots. There won't be protests. There won't be any action. I mean, how can we go from everything that we achieved during the convoy? And when I say what we achieved during the convoy, the unity that we achieved, the recognition that we were Canadians and that we understood what our values were, and that we understood what our laws were and our rights to make our grievances known to the government of Canada. We understood all that and we came together. And that is the biggest legacy to me of the convoy. But what happened? Despite that overwhelming support for the convoy across the country, whether you're a person in Ottawa that just didn't like noise, we still elected the Liberals again.
Yeah.
In Ontario, twice since the convoy, Ontario re-elected their domestic abuser twice. And so how can I or anyone have any hope that there will be any form of backlash in this country when the reality is at least half of the country, if not more, want to see Chris and Tamara go to jail.
Yeah.
So what do you
So
expect, though? You know, earlier you talked
Yeah.
about there's no political messiah.
Yeah.
The conservatives, the conservatives, and I'm going to air
Yeah.
quote because they're not conservatives, but the conservatives that believe that Pierre Poilievre's going to save Canada somehow when he's been complicit in all of this from the get-go. He joined the Freedom Convoy at the end to score political points, so he become the leader of the Conservative Party. So
Yeah.
people, even the people that are thinking that Tamara Lich and Chris Barber shouldn't be in prison or should be set free today, still believe in a guy that's part of a uniparty with the Liberal Party. Because let's not lie to each other. He ain't a conservative. He's a liberal. He's not a
Yeah.
conservative. If you put him on the same, if you compare them to the Democrats and the Republican, I spend half my time in the U.S., so I follow a lot of American politics. They're Democrats. Our conservatives are Democrats. There's nowhere close to being conservatives. But what's the solution, right? Because wherever you look right now, all of the parties that we have are literally liberals.
Yeah, there's always this talk about the Overton window pulling the conservatives so far to the center that anything even slightly right of the center is extremist. Right?
Well, right of
so
socialism is extremist now.
yeah, pretty much, right? And listen, I'm not going to debate because I'll give you a great example. Who was at the convoy with us who's now a federal member of parliament for the Conservative Party, which is Andrew Lawton. You've got Dr. Matt Strauss. Okay. He's now a conservative federal member of parliament. I mean, these guys were our people during the convoy, and they rolled up their sleeve and they joined a group that they thought maybe and they hope to have some sort of influence with. I don't see that happening. It is the Matrix in my view, and the Matrix will do everything to hopelessly enslave all who are in the Matrix, and those people enslaved by the Matrix will defend the system itself. And so this is where we're really at in the conservative movement. Now, I know Andrew Lawton. He's covered it. He's been fair. He wrote a book about the convoy. Yeah, Aaron Gunn is another person. Like, these guys are our people that will bring these issues to the forefront. What remains to be seen is how long will the conservatives allow them to speak out on important issues that we care about? Or did they say, we're going to take in these token 3 MPs to give the freedom people something to play with? I don't know. I never voted for the conservatives because I'll tell you right now, as a former army guy, I do not believe that we should have any business in Ukraine. I do not believe we should be fighting against the Russians. I don't believe we should be supporting this World War III. In my view, my estimation, I believe that NATO has done everything in its power to antagonize the Russians, to force a World War III situation. And you can go on my Substack, and I outline all of it and why I believe these things. But the fact remains that when you have somebody like Pierre Poilievre, who's constantly warmongering against Russia, it's like, buddy, have you looked at your military at all? Why don't you just be a little bit more quiet instead of acting like a little chihuahua nipping at the ankles of people who have nukes and cybersecurity capabilities, the likes of which we can't compare to? And so when I look at those issues, I look at his behavior when he attacked Christine Anderson, going after Christine Anderson as a European member of parliament was nonsensical to me. And he's got a couple of other things that just baffle me. And I don't understand why he would even behave in such a way. These are, really bizarre behaviors. I mean, he's conservative. We shouldn't be talking about getting involved in fighting and funding, the Ukrainians in this war. In my view, shut the money off, force everybody to the peace table, shut off the funding. Okay. Now, I will say I'm very shocked and disappointed at a bunch of things that Trump has done. If I was an American, I would have voted for Trump. I really would have the second time around. I didn't have to face that decision, obviously. But, yesterday he just basically came out and said, yeah, send them Tomahawks. I don't care. Send the Ukrainians Tomahawks to shoot at the Russians. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? What about the Epstein? So again, this is going back to my point.
I'm going to pull us back.
ahead,
I'm going to pull us back to Ottawa because we definitely could have a long conversation about all these issues, and I can give you a lot of input. But we have another update here from Right Blend.
Sure.
So I'm confused by where we're at right now. He says court finds custodial sentence necessary, find both accused deterred by arrest, court process, and collateral consequences. Then he also says court finds conditional sentence appropriate with harsh conditions and make sure the sentence not seen as lenient. So we're not quite sure where she's at yet, but she's now getting to that point because we're about 10 minutes or so away from court being done. So sorry to bring us back because I'm sure we can get into Epstein and Trump and Vax and all this other stuff pretty easy. But I want to kind of focus this audience on what's happening here in Ottawa as we're expecting the verdict or the sentencing to actually be announced any minute now.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just trying to really make the point of political messiah.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
They don't exist.
They're my rabbit holes too. So Jason's doing well to bring us back because those are the topics I cover basically every day. So I agree, but I agree. I just want you to know I agree on every single thing that you said. The only thing I would add is Leslyn Lewis. She's the only conservative, right? Like, I'm really liking her. Like, I posted about her, about what she said about C8 and C9 yesterday. I don't know her, but goddamn, she can speak. And I love the fact, I love the fact that she's a black woman. That is a nightmare to the woke left. I love it. Absolutely.
Yes.
An educated black woman that's telling you that this is censorship. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Okay, so court finds a conditional sentence. Here's a new update: appropriate and not risk to community. Both accused have cooperated with bail. Arrest respectful. Neither accused pose a risk to community if served at home. Not going to impose probation after conditional sentence. So it looks like they're going home today. They're likely going to have some serious conditions, some curfew, stuff like that. But it looks like it's not going to be incarceration today.
Well, I did not see that one coming.
Yeah, so I expect it's going to be like something. I'm just going to guess right now, 12 months conditional sentence, somewhere around there. And Tamara maybe a little bit less because she had time in. Because now Tamara's time in jail or prison isn't validated by the sentencing or the verdict at this stage. She shouldn't have been in without bail. Tom, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I was just going to say, I was waiting for some mention of time served already. I mean, in two cases, she had the first 24 or 25 days. And then the second time, the most bizarre issue is
picture.
The fact that she was in a picture with me. I mean, the bail conditions were clear that we were not to have contact unless in the presence of our lawyers. The whole bloody room was sponsored by our law firm, the JCCF. The guy sitting at the table was the head of the JCCF. Behind her was Diane Magnus, all her criminal attorneys. Everybody in that room just about was from those two law offices. And I never spoke to her. Like, I mean, she stepped off the stage. I said, great job with your speech. Congratulations. That's it. And in that 3.5 seconds, apparently myself and Tamara plotted to overthrow the government of Canada in 3.5 seconds, where she bent down, walked by me, and I congratulated her on the speech she just gave. And they sent 2 Ottawa homicide detectives to apprehend her at her house on a Canada-wide warrant for breach of bail, and they put her in jail for 25 days.
Yeah.
What does that say? And how can this not be a political prosecution when they refuse to issue Canada-wide warrants for rapists and murderers and other violent offenders? But for the crime of appearing in a photograph with somebody at your
18 months conditional sentence for Barber. So we have it from Bright Blend. Chris Barber, please stand. Conditional sentence of 18 months for mischief. Concurrent 3 months for disobey court order. Served in community with conditions. Oof, that's good. And that means tomorrow's going to be along the same lines for sure. So he's going home today. But it's 18 months, not 12 like I thought. But in the ballpark. Well, he's going home today.
Good.
You know what that is? Like I've been saying for a long time now, the process is the punishment. 3.5 years in the process, they've been punished time and time again, and it's still not done. They
Well,
don't need to go to jail to be punished. 3.5 year process. Insane.
Yeah. The other important thing to this is what are Chris's restrictions on cross-border, because his business, he does an enormous amount of work in the United States for his trucking company. So
Well, he won't be able to cross the border right now with a conviction.
Yeah, I think there is an
Retarded.
application I think there's an application that could be made between the US and Canada. My understanding. I could be wrong on that because, you know, I didn't go to law
without
school.
some sort of pardon or agreement waiver,
Yeah.
he would be like the rest of us at this stage.
Yeah. So
he must
I
remain in his
wonder-
jurisdiction. So here's some of the conditions. He must remain in the jurisdiction of the court unless written permission. Must notify his name change or occupation. Must remain within his residence or property for the first 12 months, except for emergency. Once a week, allowed out 5 hours for necessity of life. Oh boy! So he can't even leave his home. So this is
house arrest.
House arrest, yeah, for 12 months. If he can get out 5 hours a week for necessity of life, like go shopping and get his haircut. Holy smokes! Okay, and must remain on the property between 10 and 5 p.m. except for employment emergencies. Oh, for the remaining period, so the last 6 months, he's going to have curfew. So he's not going to the States for the next year.
No. So for 12 months, he cannot work.
Well, he'd have to work from home, his home office, but he can't leave. Yeah.
Any discussion about what's going to happen to Big Red?
Not yet.
That's a good question.
We're looking for that one too.
But that's a different case, isn't it?
No, they'll be part of the sentence.
Okay, they'll be part of the sentence today. I thought it was different.
Well, they made their arguments separate because they want to seize his truck. Oh boy.
Well, his father and son are co-owners of that truck as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
Once again, they're just trying to kill an icon. That's what they're trying to do. They know that Big Red was an icon to the Freedom Convoy, and they're trying to kill that. But, for all the people, if I was a trucker, I would paint my truck red too.
Yeah. Well, you'd be doing what they don't want you to do. So, yeah, it'd be
This is why I'd be doing it.
Right? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, she wasn't joking when she said conditional with harsh terms. Okay, let's see if we have an update for Tamara.
After the convoy, a few months after, in the following April 1st, I believe the federal government gave themselves a 20% pay raise for a job well done. You get a pay raise even though you're all working from home. And so you don't have extraordinary expenses like I need new outfits, gas money, travel, hotel, any of that. You're working from home, but we'll give you a 20% pay raise. Show me where else people in Canadian society get a 20% pay raise. Yeah.
Well, it's rules for thee, but not for me. George Carlin was right.
Yeah.
Big club, and we're not in it.
That's a visionary right there. George Carlin.
Yeah.
So
pay more attention to that guy.
Is he allowed?
Go ahead, Tom.
Somebody commented that said he's allowed to travel for work outside of Saskatchewan.
No, you will remain within jurisdiction of the court unless written permission, and then a 12-month house arrest. After that, the remaining period, a curfew on the property. He'd have to have a really, really good justification and got permission to be able to go to the States right now. Even during
Because hold on, if you go up, it says for first 12 months, except for emergency of you or family are traveling to Stewart Valley for purposes of employment. So he's able to go to Stewart Valley, right?
That's not the U.S.
No, that's what I'm saying. So it seems like he can go somewhere for work, but it ain't the U.S.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna just be silent and let you guys do the analysis, especially you, Jason. You understand this with more clarity than I do.
Yeah, I'm just seeing if. Oh, here's another one. Here we go. Asked about the parents, authorized Barber to engage in snow removal of parents' property and snow removal, so he can help there. Okay. So he's getting a little bit of permission there just to help his parents, but they don't live in the States.
No.
Okay. So 5-minute little break here from Greenspoon to talk to Leach, and then I'm sure we'll see the next update will be Lisa and Tamara and hear her results as well. Boy, so that's definitely harsh because a 12-month house arrest is harsh. Like he can't leave without special permission, lawyer, religious, and now to do snow removal.
He can't work, basically, is what his main job.
Well,
he can't do it.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be able to go to his garage and work on the trucks. He can direct his business. There's no condition there that he can't direct his business. He's got a home office. I'm sure he can keep things going with his children because they do participate in the business. And nothing about the truck yet. So there's nothing here about the truck. Yeah, nothing about the truck yet. So statutory condition clerks can't change, transfer to Saskatchewan, really ongoing for them to transfer. They are aware of your employment cross-border. So yeah, there's no approval for him to cross the border for work at this stage. They're going to let Saskatchewan maybe make some more determinations by transferring this over there, because that's where he lives, in Saskatchewan. And don't know if he's coming back. Civil proceedings that we've spoken about there, the Zexi Lee stuff, he may be back. Doesn't seem like he's banned from Ottawa in any way, shape, or form. And also don't see a condition here that he can't speak to certain people. So there's nothing here yet about not being able to speak to Tom, Leach, others. But nothing like that yet.
And it seems, by the way, if we judge by some of the comments, that Big Red is going to be discussed in November, because that's what I thought. I thought they were completely different cases.
Okay. Well, because they asked for the seizure, so I guess they fought the seizure through a different application. Oh, okay. So we'll wait for that result as well in November. I'm sure Chris will be zooming into that one, not traveling across Canada. Are you surprised at this stage, Tom? House arrest is pretty harsh.
It is that they would go after his livelihood like that. I'm torn because the very fact that they're even in court to begin with, I'm over that initial shock. But of course, they've got to get their pound of flesh for spending millions upon millions of dollars in the pursuit of prosecution. They've got to walk away with something. And she's already given them the conviction, which, as far as I'm concerned, it should have died, but it didn't. But I'm happy that he's not going to do any jail time. I'm very relieved of that. I'm quite relieved of that he won't do any jail time. But how is he supposed to earn a living? He's going to have to rely solely on his 22-year-old son and his daughter to keep that business going. I mean, that's a big ask. His daughter's younger than the son. It's a big ask to put that kind of pressure on thing. But then again, I'm very relieved that he's not going to do any jail time.
And they still have they can appeal this. So there's a chance that through application to appeal the sentence, that some of the conditions can be lifted pending appeal. But there's still maybe that avenue open to him. But then if the appeal happens and they can actually change the sentence to be harsher, that's one of the risks about appealing a sentence, is they can actually change it to be harsher if they find that that wasn't valid. But I'm sure he's going to take that chance. So we'll see, maybe see some of these conditions paused while he appeals, or he may choose not to appeal and just let this thing run out in 18 months. We'll see. I know if he went in, there would be an appeal on the table fast.
But the end result is still there, the pound of flesh. They're getting their pound of flesh right now, and they're showing everybody else out there, if you plan on protesting and doing something we don't like, here you go. This is what's going to happen to you. Be careful. So the end result is still there. There's still, even though 12 months is harsh, especially they can't do anything, it is still the intent to show the regular people, the commoners, that they will not allow dissent.
Yeah.
And some of the conditions I'm glad that are not here is he's allowed so far to go ahead and go on social media, get out there and talk. There doesn't seem to be any gags on him like Pat had for a while. So that's good. So we might be seeing and hearing from him soon. Yeah, and
You
no
just need
update
Bill
yet on tomorrow.
C9 to do that, bro. Bill
the dirty
C9
work
will
will
do
be
that to
done.
everybody, right? Yeah.
And of course, had there been a very severe sentencing involving jail time and everything, what would the impact overall be to Alberta independence? I'm curious to know if that factored into it at all. I'm just very curious to know.
If she didn't know about the what was that one detail she didn't know about, the Mosley
Freezing of
decision,
the bank
bank
accounts.
accounts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I doubt she knows Alberta's even talking about this.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think Tamara, if she has house arrest as well, we're going to be upset. We don't want to be connected to Ottawa anymore. There'll just be another nail in the coffin for the desire for people to stay in Canada out here in Alberta. They don't think that's fair. So I think this will actually assist the movement. Tamara has something similar to this, especially the fact that she shouldn't have been in jail, because after the sentencing of house arrest for Barber, she shouldn't have been in jail either. That was harsh. So I think Albertans are going to look at this as yet one more reason to go ahead and leave.
Yeah. Jason, you and I have talked about separation or Alberta independence on your podcast. You did the interview. It was, I think, an important interview, that conversation, and I hope that people in Alberta and Saskatchewan out west do view that whole thing and hear from what everybody had to say. I know that there are people here in Ontario that would like to see Alberta independence. I'm not going to lie. Like, there's a lot that would. I certainly support it, and move. Unfortunately, I can't. I'm not in a position. But if that was a serious thing, if that was an option for me, I would seriously consider doing it. Even if there was no separation, I think Alberta is going to be in a much better standing than the rest of Canada very shortly.
Yeah. In 1 week's time, Tom, Premier Danielle Smith is joining me for that series that you were on. So we'll be getting her voice on that as well.
Yeah. Good. Because
that took 2 years to get that.
Yeah.
Get that one.
Yeah.
2 years of
working
with her team.
She's a critical voice to hear from, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the way that worked out is we just finished up the Alberta Next panel out here, and then she was doing that. And she wanted to save that conversation to after the panel so we can kind of address what the panel brought up as well. So I appreciate them making that time. And 1 week's time, I'll be recording that interview.
Good.
But there's a lot more coming out. I did Stockwell Day, Chris Scott, Bathsheba Vandenberg. There's a whole bunch of ones I recorded just over the last couple of months that I still have to release. So you'll see some more of those come out. Yeah, we don't have an update yet on Tamara. Still refreshing here. Nope, not yet. But they did take a 5-minute break, and I'm sure he's typing away right now because court should be ending shortly. That was kind of the commitment by the judge, is to be done by 1:00 Eastern, which is now. So this would be wrapping up quickly here. But I'm now expecting Tamara to walk out as well. Even if she gives her time, she has time served. So I think both of them are going home, and I suspect they're going to have to head back home like immediately. There's going to be no party for the weekend or anything like that. They're going to be heading back immediately to go start serving their conditional sentence.
Mm-hmm. Well, I still have the bail conditions with Tamara. Well, rather, she has bail conditions. Yeah, she's not allowed to speak to me. So because I wasn't charged. I don't have bail conditions, and the conditions are about her. And I was hoping that at the end of this trial that those conditions would be removed, but chances are they won't. You never know.
Well,
maybe she'll
yeah,
get different conditions.
yeah, we'll see if that they add that as part of her sentencing conditions, because that's how it would continue after the sentencing.
Yeah. But
We'll see.
the truth is, many of the people on that list, she doesn't even know who those people are.
Yeah. Same thing with Randy
And-
Hilliard. There was a bunch of
Yeah.
people, he had no idea who they were. Yeah, it was silly. And you saw the updates from Randy, like they're dropping left, right, and center all of his charges, and they're just giving up on the prosecution of him.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be next week, or on the 18th, sorry, I'll be in Regina, Saskatchewan, speaking at the Prairie Rising Forum. So it'll be nice to get out there and see all of my Western Canada friends that I have there.
Yeah, I found out about that yesterday, and I'm doing an event in Calgary and Red Deer on the 18th, Calgary on the 19th. I wish I knew about that event because we certainly share an audience. Anyways, there's still some decisions on this end that might have to be made to accommodate that. But in either case, I wish I could be there. We'll see. I have an election. I got to be here on the 20th. I'm running for council out here, and the election's on the 20th of October. So it's going to be a busy month for all of us, right?
Yes.
All right. Still no update on Tamara. Keeping an eye on it. And thanks very much. If you guys haven't followed Right Blend, please do that. It's Right Blend, RIGHTBLEND on X. You can find him on Facebook as well, but he's posting on X right now. Give him a follow. He's doing some great work, and he does this on his own dime. The government doesn't sponsor any of our media, pay for it in any way, shape, or form. In fact, they're coming to attack us, right, Nico? Bill C11, 18, 63 is coming back.
C2,
2, 8,
C8,
9.
C9, 63.
Yeah. So if you can support Right Blend, please do that.
Oh, yeah.
Give him a follow, and I think he posts sometimes a link where you can contribute to his work. Do that. He's a hard worker. I know the guy. He's a nice man too.
Yeah. He's been outstanding, and he's been very consistent, and he, a lot of detail goes into what he's writing, and it's quite accurate. He types like a madman.
He does.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad the court didn't say anything about that, because he has a laptop to get this out to you as quick as possible. He's sitting there typing fast. Okay, so I think we might be getting into Tamara shortly, but I'm expecting her to be going home conditional sentence as well, because the judge didn't really put one above the other when it came to their actions. He kind of treated them equally and similar throughout. But there is no recourse for Tamara to get her time back that she spent in jail. There's no avenue for that, especially with a conviction. So she can't even say wrongful prosecution or sue for that because there's a conviction there. But she'll never get that time back in any way, shape, or form, which is really sad.
How long she spent in jail?
I think 49 nights, 49 total, 49 nights, 50 days. Two different ones. I'm not allowed to talk to her about the details. I kind of get it third party through the others because communicating with her is not allowed and very difficult. And we've at one point thought that we were a neutral territory, safe to converse in front of our lawyers, and apparently that got her 25 days in jail.
Yeah. And I saw them both in Calgary a couple of weeks ago at the JCCF event. I'm sorry you weren't there for that, Tom, but probably for legal reasons, you probably shouldn't be there for Tamara. But they were both there, and they got a standing ovation and a lot of love from that group of people, for sure. Even though Democracy Fund is who's covering Tamara, there's a lot of recognition from the JCCF that we need these kind of organizations, because if it wasn't for JCCF and the Democracy Fund, this would have been crowdfunded from the public to cover this trial. And I'm sure it's millions. This was very difficult.
And I agree with that, and I'm very, very grateful to the Canadian public for the support they've shown us on the $290 million lawsuit against us too, because we had a strategy that we were trying to employ against Paul Champ's lawsuit for the 290 million against only 20 of us. Yeah, it was anti-slap that we were going with, and unfortunately, the first round didn't go our way, and we did make the decision as a group to appeal it, and we lost the appeal, and it cost us $20,000 in court costs. And the amazing support that we do have out there from the Canadian public. In 9 hours 15 minutes, we raised the $20,000 to pay that bill. And that's on top of everything that Chris and Tamara are already trying to do. Over a year ago, we were in Swift Current, again, with our lawyers. I couldn't go anywhere near Tamara. I could talk to Chris, but, Chris raised in one night a significant amount of money towards his legal issues, because he's with JCCF and Tamara's with the Democracy Fund. Right. So, the public has been responding with an enormous amount of generosity over this whole ordeal. And it's hard. It's hard to be working class people that are asking for help. But these costs are just too big, and it has to be done. Yeah, it's not been easy. It's not been easy. And I think after this, when are they going to get some relief on a decision about this class action? So these are legal problems that they have. These are criminal problems. But now let's get into the financial problems of this $290 million lawsuit. I mean, Harold Jonker is named on that, and so is Jonker Trucking. So not only Harold himself, but also the company, his business.
Is
Jacob
that because he had trucks there?
Yeah, and Jason, well, because he became notable, right? And they looked at it like, oh, this guy might have some money. Let's go take it. Jacob Wells, who's the owner of Give Send Go, was also named on this lawsuit. So right now there's 20 of us that are named. But I think Canadians are smart enough to recognize that if this does get certified as a class, a lot of Canadians that donated, the 270,000 Canadians that donated to the convoy, might be vulnerable to being named on Paul Champ's lawsuit. So, we're all in this. I know today, criminally, it's Chris and Tamara that are the ones being sentenced, but we all have a piece of skin in this game right now.
And I'm sure Paul Champ is not pleased with this outcome. I suspect he probably wanted to see jail, because he'd be using it as part of his lawsuit, and he was waiting for this outcome, I think, before he kept pursuing the civil one against you guys. And
I wouldn't be surprised if the Mosley decision hinges on this as well. The release of the appeal. Yeah. I don't know. My law school
February again for that.
Yeah. My law school consisted of living with Keith Wilson for 7.5 weeks at the POEC, and Eva and Brendan and Bathsheba and
Miller.
All the other great lawyers that were there from the JCCF at the time. So those are the law lessons that I would consistently get. Go ahead.
Brendan got hired by Tony Olenek, so Brendan is working on his appeal.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. And I just communicated with Chris Carbert. He's working today, or else he would have joined us. But his appeal, they're working on that appeal as well. So we're not done. Like, there's going to be a couple more years of this stuff in appeals court, and as we keep fighting some of these things. Yeah. But I think there's a sigh of relief. That's kind of what I'm seeing here online. People are relieved that it's not jail time right now, and right now they're providing Tamara Lich's sentencing. So we got an update here any minute now. But I suspect she's going home too.
But the time they served under public scrutiny, under stress of not knowing what's going on for the past 3.5 years, that should have been the sentence right there. But obviously, they can't have that. They wouldn't have their pound of flesh, right? It wouldn't be enough.
Yeah.
It would be too light of a sentence because we all claim to understand what it is to be under that type of scrutiny for 3.5 years. It's no big deal, right? Please.
No way, it's a huge deal.
Please. Of course, it's called
The
sarcasm. It's a very big
Yeah. The judge did recognize $50,000 in personal expenses just to go to the trials for Barber. Like that's out of his own pocket just to be there, or else he'd be arrested for bail condition issues. And if you ever have I know you met him, Tom, but if you ever have the pleasure to meet Barber, he's a gentle giant. Like that guy is so cool.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's a
Nice
big
guy.
boy, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
He's
Tamara's
like-
the opposite. Although she's gentle as well, but she's tiny, like really tiny.
You know, there's a case once where I saw Chris and he had a kid in his arms and like he was holding her up, and I was like, who? I thought his daughter was a little older than that. You know, had this little kid in his arms. Turned out it was Tamara when he turned around. Like that's the difference in the size. Like she compared to Chris, you know, and he's a gentle giant. And you know, I've written about Chris in his personality. He's the guy you want to get into a disagreement. Let's go out back behind the bar. We'll punch each other in the face a few times and go in and finish our beer. Like that's what Chris Barber's like. He's the guy
think
who
he wouldn't even punch you. I think he'd look you in the eye and have a conversation, and you'd be like, "Oh, right, you're right." Like I think that's how that would go down.
Yeah, I talked to Chris about it.
My youngest Jacob did beat him in an arm wrestle, though, so I do want to put that on the record.
Okay, there you
my
go.
son did beat Chris Barber.
Yeah.
All right, conditional sentence for Tamara, 18 months. So same conditional sentence. Although your roles were different, I'm subtracting 74 days. So that's going to be some of the time served. So she's removing some of that. And that's going to be like 1.5 times, it looks like, because you said it was around 50 days. So she's getting time served as part of that. So it's 15.4 months. So, okay, as previously known, it's a longer sentence than otherwise would have been imposed if a custody for deterrence. So she's basically saying, would have given you less time if you went into jail. So 18 months as well. Report today to supervisor here. Matter will be transferred to Medicine Hat, Alberta. First 12 months, house arrest. So same thing as Chris here. Your property at all times except for traveling. Same response. She understands his grandchildren involved. Or to and from employment so she can move. She can travel to or for employment, the medical appointments or religious. I wonder if Right Blend missed that point for Barber, whether or not he can travel for employment or not. We'll get some more details around that. Exception for the birth of her grandchild. Wow, so kind. The remaining 3.5 months, same things, 10 p.m. curfew to 5 a.m. 100 hours of community service as well. And yeah, she's going to have to work with a supervisor. And Greenspoon says those are fine. And he'll take her to different places. Okay, so very, very similar to Barber as well. So, but she has some time served credit. So she has less months total. So this will be over for her sooner. And it looks like the credit is on the second half, not the first 12 months. So it'll be the second half of her curfew stuff is where she's going to get her jail time credit instead of on the first 12 months, which is house arrest. Wow.
Good
kind of rude on that one. I would have given her credit on the house arrest side of things. Arrest.
She only went to prison. I don't know why you're making a big deal out of this. Obviously, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. Well, 1.5 years, man, for both of them. Year stuck in a house, 5 hours a week. You know, you made a comment earlier saying that Barber had 5 hours a week. He could have his hair cut. Obviously, he doesn't need to, but she definitely will be. She'll need those 5 hours to leave. It's not even 10 to 5. Like they're getting in the last. You know what? I could have understood that. I could have understood that one. Like saying at night you have a curfew. We want you at home. We're preventing you from moving around. You know what? I don't agree with it, but I get it. But to leave your house for 5 hours at a week.
So she also has that 5 hours a week necessity for life.
Yep. Yep.
condition too. Yeah, so very, very similar to Barber.
So can't work unless you work from home. You can't work at this point, right? Or does it? Because there was mention in hers saying you had it somewhere, right? That traveling to or from employment.
Yeah, so I'm not sure about that part. Right here, traveling to or from employment.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Barber had the same one. So there may be house arrest, you can go to your work, but come back, and that's it. Other 5
There
hours a
was,
week for other
remember,
things.
there was a specific place, something valley, that he was allowed to go to. It was actually specified in there. But maybe you're right.
Yeah,
Maybe
but that could be where
uh,
his mom lives, so he can remove that snow. I'm
that's
speculating
possible.
on that.
We're gonna need more information either way. We're just getting it from somebody typing
Yeah,
in court, which is pretty impressive how detailed that guy is.
Yeah.
big props to Jonathan on that, right, Blend, for sure. Okay, so I just put out a post for the sentencing. Yeah, we'll get that out there. Okay, so I think it's right in the middle. No jail, but pretty harsh. And we'll get some more of these details as they come out. I can probably get a copy of the decision from the court, but that could take a day or two. So maybe next week I'll have that. But I'll be working on that for everybody as well. Get that out there. So Tom, what are your feelings right now? So they treated them basically the same. Chris can remove snow for his parents.
Yeah,
That's the kind of love of this.
again, I'll maintain I don't think either of them should be there at
Yeah.
all. I think that what can you say? Like honestly, what more do you say about this? That we live in a society where in a country where we have this constant power of attorney relationship with our politicians, and we have a charter of rights and freedoms that gives itself the opportunity for politicians to suspend your rights. And even when a federal judge determines that you acted outside of your authority, acted outside of the law as the government, we're still going to go and persecute people who are actually exercising what they believe to be their rights.
Mhm.
And so I'm pretty disgusted. I'm happy in the sense that they're not actually going to be in a prison and doing hard time like that.
Or in Tamara's
I
case, more hard time.
more hard time, yeah. I'm very hopeful that even if you are not a supporter of the convoy, you do some self-reflection this week and you see yourself in their circumstance, because today it may not be, this might not be your issue, but in the future you will have an issue. You will have a disagreement with the government at some point in time in your life, which is exactly why we have the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, because at some point you will vehemently disagree with your government. And so whether you supported Chris or Tamara or not, you have to recognize that you have skin in the game now. There is now some precedent. And like you said, this will not end today. There will be more to follow. And if in the future the Crown appeals and they're successful on overturning this sentence, this is more cost, more time in Ottawa, more punishment. And then on top of that, we still have the class action. And what does it say to the public? The number of people that I know that are too afraid to donate to things like Give, Send, Go, because they're afraid of getting their bank accounts frozen because of the last time. Now, imagine how people are going to be to speak out about things that are important to them. They're going to look at the bank account seizures. They're going to look at the convictions of Chris and Tamara and Pat King and other people. They're not going to focus on people like Harold Jonker that got completely exonerated, right? We're going to look at the worst case scenarios, and everyone is going to say, if I speak out, what is going to happen to me? And this is a further erosion of the principles that this country was founded on. And this is something that I talk about all of the time. What is a Canadian's morals, ethics, values, and what is the principles upon which all of that is based? And right now, this is just another massive swing of the sledgehammer to take a piece out of our moral foundation, our principles as a country, as a society. So when I look at it from that perspective, I hope people don't get motivated by this to be quiet. I hope people become motivated to say, you've crossed the line, you've gone too far, you can't take us all on again. But sadly, elbows up.
Elbows up,
And,
man.
and so I'm very conflicted. I'm very conflicted. Not the outcome that I was hoping for at all.
Well, the immediate response from people is sad and happy. It seems to be that they're not going in jail. They're happy about that part. Doesn't seem to be anger, which is a good start. And Right Blend here provided one more post confirming that in November, Barber will be attending virtually to continue with the truck, the season of his truck. I suspect now, just kind of presuming, they're going to fail. The Crown's going to fail because he's been sentenced already with conditions. He's received his punishment. I don't see how they can continue with this, but they're going to try. They're going to try. And Tom, you actually highlighted something that I think is important here: is the Crown can appeal the sentencing. They did start that process in Coots, and then they ended up dropping it after the fact. But they can announce it.
If they go for an appeal, then I think people going to have to start raising some real serious hard questions about the political interference of this. Because let's put this into Canadian perspective, right? You have the premier of the province, you have elected MPPs in Ontario, MLAs in other places, and the premier appoints the Attorney General of Ontario. The Attorney General of Ontario is responsible for the Crown attorneys. So there is a nexus between the courts and the politicians. So at what point does this not get viewed as being more vindictive if the Crown, under the authority and the approval, the permission, maybe even the direction of the Attorney General of Ontario, says, yeah, I'm going to greenlight that appeal after spending millions upon millions of dollars pursuing these convictions. So at what point does the public finally say, hey, go ahead, go after them, and I guarantee you on the next time as the Attorney General, we're going to make you pay at the polls. But elbows up. So
right. And the last post from Right Blend here is reminding people, if you want to support his work, e-transfer to realrightblend@gmail.com. I would encourage you all to send a couple bucks if you appreciate his coverage here. There was really no other way to get it out of that courtroom than what he was doing. So thank you very much to Jonathan for that. But realrightblend@gmail.com. He deserves a cup of coffee, guys.
I think so. I think so. And I would say today is a shining example of the courts, the criminal justice, injustice system, the police who are involved in support of these convictions. I think the whole entire legal apparatus in Canada is in full-on disrepute. I really do.
Nico, what are your initial thoughts here now that we have the 18 months, 12 months house arrest? They're going home, but they're going to have some conditions.
They achieved what they set to achieve. They are making it difficult for them to continue working, but they are showing people out there that there is consequences to your speech. If you don't like what the government is saying and you have the balls to stand against them, here's your punishment. They're telling you that there will be a punishment. And how many people out there can afford those risks? And I'm going to be curious to see, and that's what I've been looking. I'm looking at one of my screens here to see what the left is saying, what the liberals are saying, the same people that wanted them in handcuffs.
I bet you they're disappointed. I bet you they're upset. But
that's my point. Like, yeah. I'm going to be talking about this on the show tonight, and I'm going to give it 6-7 hours so that people actually can get their opinions out there. But they're going to say it was too light of a sentence. They deserve to be in prison. That's what they're going to say. I'm completely opposite. I'm like, time has already been served just from what they had to endure for the past 3.5 years. But at the same time, the end result is the same. Our government just showed us once again that they will crush dissent. So since they don't have any gag orders, I'm really hoping that both Chris and Tamara start being very vocal about Bill C2, C8, C9, and the new Bill C63 that's going to come out, because that needs to serve as a consequence. That needs to serve as a waking up call for Canadians out there. This is a possibility that could happen to you, but at least right now, as it stands, we're still able to do so. With Bill C2, C8, C9, C63 in place, we won't even be able to have an opinion online. Don't even consider organizing the type of event that the Freedom Convoy was. They want to kill that at the source. So hopefully Chris and Tamara start being very, very vocal about censorship, because they are the prime example. Imagine if they had Bill C9 back in the times of the Freedom Convoy. Imagine if Bill C9, it wouldn't have been illegal for them to arrest everybody. And the thing is most people out there understand how to use technology. They don't understand technology. But if you look through Bill C2, it gives the power to the government to install spyware on people's electronic devices, like your cell phone. And if you guys don't know what geofencing is, meaning that the government could have said Wellington. We're going to go Wellington from the bridge up to Rideau Center where the convoy was. We're going to do a geofencing around it. We're going to ask at a platform like Palantir, for example, to say, give me the IP address of every cell phone that is there, every carrier that it was on, request to the carrier who owns those cell phones, no problem. Internet's cut, your banking are out. We're going to debank you, and you don't have an internet to complain about it. This is the possibility that a bill like Bill C9 and Bill C2 gives you, Bill C8, C2, and C9 give you when you work them together. And this is what I've been talking about day in and day out. There's not a one big fuck you big brother bill. There's 4 of them where all of their liberties are being taken a bit in every single bill. So that's what we're facing right now. And we just got proof that the government does not give a fuck about us. They don't give a fuck about what we think. They don't care about our liberties. And if this doesn't wake you up, I don't know what will, because Bill C2, C8, C9, Bill C63 are coming. 3 of them are tabled. C63, the new version, that is probably going to be worse than C2, C8, C9 combined if we judge by the last version they had on. We need to wake up to this, because once that passes, digital ID's next, and we're fucked, really fucked to a point of no return. That's where I'm going to end on this.
So some of the conditions we didn't see was they're not restricted from speaking out so far. There's none of those conditions that I saw. So I hope over these next 12 months, what they're going to do is like a daily or a weekly something and keep talking, because maybe they're going to be a little bit more comfortable with speaking out, because the trial part is over and the sentencing is over. And they definitely are going to be 2 voices that are very important in that conversation. Tamara in Alberta, I'm sure she'll be talking about leaving Alberta or Canada, sorry. And then Chris as well. He may be talking to Saskatchewan, people in Saskatchewan about the same thing. Who knows? This might be the beginning of the collapse of Canada, as people are now kind of responding to this, absorbing it, digesting it. And you're 100% correct. There is no large Big Brother bill. We talked to John Carpe about this. They're bringing it out in pieces, but you put that puzzle together, it's clear as day. And with Tanzania putting to a sentence of death on a gentleman for just criticizing the government on Facebook. And I do want to highlight, Facebook didn't close his account or remove his post, so it didn't reach the community standards, but the government standards was reached for death. So I hope those 2 will fight and talk about this some more. I'm sure we're going to see them a lot. And Tom, hopefully you can talk to Tamara soon. Hopefully you get that green light and you find out soon enough if those conditions are maintained or not. Because I think the 3 of you all together can also help move this conversation forward.
Well, we've often joked about doing a traveling roadshow across Canada at the end of this trial.
For 12 months, we know that.
We can't guarantee for the 12 to 16 months at all, which is kind of disappointing.
They can maybe be remote. Maybe you can have them on
maybe
stage
remote.
live.
Yeah, yeah. As long as I can have contact, that would be better than nothing. But I think, when we talk about all these bills, and I don't recall which one of it is, and it might be 63, is the retroactive nature of these
Yeah.
bills. And this is something that has to be like I may already be screwed, right? If this thing goes through, they may already go, you were done 3-4 years ago, buddy. We were just waiting to inform you. Oh, by the way, we don't have to inform you. That's a secret. So, the three of us on this call might already be unpersoned on social media. And we don't even know it yet if any of these things go through. And again, I don't have any faith in any of the uniparty to be able to do anything about this to stop it. And so this is what my parting message for everybody is: do not give in to the fear of what just happened today. Because if you give that small ground today, you will give up everything later. Instead of retreating back into your safe space at this point, you have to go forward and become more active. I'm not saying more aggressive. I'm saying more active. You need to get more involved with your MPs, MLAs, MPPs, city council, school boards. You need to be more active and get that helmet on and get in there and fight for your community. And never forget everything that was done. Yes, the federal government, the provincial government set the conditions for it to happen, but every single thing that was done to the public in the last 5 years was done to you at the local level by your own townships, by your own police, by your own courts. That's where all these plans were executed. Justin Trudeau didn't do anything himself, but your own people that live in your communities are the ones who did it to you. They're the ones who executed the plan. Get involved, get active, run for council, run for school board, do it all local, because local action has a national consequence. And it's the only way we're going to fight back on this stuff is don't retreat, move forward and fight for your families. And really, that's my parting shot.
Well, on that note there, Tom, I'm running for council and the election's on the 20th, and Paul is running for treasurer or trustee. So if you're in the Brazeau County Ward 2 or Division 6, you got two options now. We're doing exactly that, Tom, because you're right. It has to come from that level. We have to get into the councils. We have to get into school boards to correct this country. And even if it's just Alberta leaving, at least we get some good people in there. So not to plug myself, but we're going to a meeting tonight with the rest of the candidates October 7th, so today at 7 p.m. in Buck Creek. So if you're in that area, come and say hi, and let's have a conversation about changing Brazeau County and the school board of Wild Rose for the better, because there's a couple of candidates there that are looking for your support. So I have maybe another 25 minutes or so, wrap up at 12 my time here, 2 p.m. for you guys. I do have a full day too. I have to get ready for tonight and get some signs out. But my initial response is I'm kind of relieved that we're not going to be seeing a bunch of people angry in the streets at this stage. There's room for appeals, and these two Canadian heroes are going home and be able to fight from their home for the next little bit. We'll find out in the coming days if they're going to appeal this, if the Crown's going to appeal this. I'm sure the Crown's really upset, because I think the Crown definitely wanted them incarcerated today. So I would not be surprised if we got an announcement that the Crown's appealing this. But I'm relieved that they're going home, and I'm relieved that the sentiment so far is sadness and relief as well. People are not angry. So maybe that powder keg will not go off today, Nico, that we're talking about at the beginning. Maybe a lot of people are going to go home. Maybe there'll be a couple of vigils. Something along those lines. And I'm glad, because this could have gone bad for all of us Canadians had this gone worse in Ottawa.
Agreed. I agree.
Yeah. And
so
with
Tom,
that,
thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah.
I think you added a ton to this conversation. You were boots on the ground. You were able to kind of vitiate and push back on some of the comments that we saw in our chat about what was really going on. and your insight. We got to have you back. Maybe we'll get you on one of our Saturday episodes. I know you can't do it this weekend because it's Thanksgiving, but maybe another time we'll have you back and we'll get into all the other stuff you're talking about: Ukraine, Epstein, Trump, et cetera, et cetera. It'll be a great conversation.
Sure. Definitely.
Nice meeting you, Tom, by the way.
Yeah, nice meeting you too. Thank you. I appreciate this. And I'm off to another meeting to plan for the 18th. So thanks for all this. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all the viewers and all the supporters who've helped me and Chris and Tamara and everybody else. And mostly Chris and Tamara sticking by them. So, and I'm going to say thank you to Bumpy Johnson for just giving me a little bit of a reality check on, So, all right. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Take care, Tom. And you also have a book. You mentioned your Substack, but you also have a book out there.
Yeah, I got a couple of books out now.
That.
Yeah, I got my book about the convoy, the People's Emergency Act. I converted one of my Substacks into a book called The Upstream Effect. And my last book, which I think is more important today going forward into the future, is called The People's Emergency Plan. It's actually about planning for domestic emergencies, civil unrest, that type of thing, and what you can do to protect your family. It's basically everything that I've done, what I learned through my time in the military. I civilianized it to help people plan for emergency events for their families, their homes, their communities. So I encourage people to look out for those. But at the end of the day, I write the books to provide some service to people, to give to tell the inside story on the convoy, and also to help you prepare for things that are around the corner. So I do want to thank anybody who's purchased those books for all their support as well. So I appreciate that.
Thanks for your time, Tom. I really appreciate it, and we'll talk again soon.
Okay.
And let us know if you get those conditions lifted. It'd be good to know.
I will. All right. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye, Tom.
Right, there we go, Nico. Another ad hoc conversation. We've got 6,600 people watching right now. That's not including Rumble. So thank you to everybody who's hanging out with us on this particular day. This is what we're doing with Source One. This is something that we're working hard on, bringing lots of conversations together, different people together, and trying to do our best to get it out there, bumpy or not. We're trying to get this information out there.
Couldn't agree more. So guys, if you've enjoyed this type of conversation, Jason and I do a mashup on Saturdays from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. We normally have 5-6 people. So we're the two of us. Jeff Evely joins us most of the time. And then we invite 3-4 guests. We have conversations like these every single Saturday. So join us 9 to 11 Eastern time. On Saturdays, 7 to 9 for Mountain Time, because Jason always wants me to mention that. But all to say that if you enjoyed the show, make sure to join us. We will do more live events like this. This is just one of the first that we're doing, but first of many. If you like Jason, you're not following him right now, you can follow him at Jason Lavigne AB on X and at the Lavigne Show on YouTube. And if you've enjoyed the Frenchie, that is myself, at Real Nico Lagan everywhere. I'm especially big on Instagram. I'm more of an Instagram guy, but you can also follow the show that I run every night from 8 to 9 p.m. called The Political Orphans, where I record with a liberal atheist at The Poly Orphans on YouTube. That's all I got, brother.
Yeah, and this Saturday, this is going to be one of the main topics, will be the sentencing. We may have a couple more people with intimate information and knowledge or connection to it join us. Last week, we had Katie from the Universal Ostrich Farm join us. Plus, we had Dr. Stephen Pellick, who's one of the expert witnesses that was denied to provide his report during the federal court decision. And we also had Leighton Gray, a great lawyer, who was giving us some information. The reason why I'm highlighting that is you can go back and watch that episode as well. But this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring primary source people, so the ones in the know, to the table to have conversations and to continue to expand on that, because you don't see this really anywhere else at this stage. So on that note, if you want to go ahead and click the buttons, or I can click the buttons, but we'll say goodbye to everybody. We're relieved. We're relieved. This could have been a lot worse. This could have been a lot worse. And another big thank you to Right Blend for that play-by-play coverage in the courtroom. Really appreciate it. It's
And
that
everybody
kind
in
of
the
guy
comment section, guys. Everybody in the comment section, thank you for being there. Thank you for supporting us. And mic drop. We'll see you next time.
Take care, everybody, and God bless.